Welcome, one and all, to the show of all shows. Your weekly ritual comes back once again. Chaos After Dark is permanent, but the light we bring on the football world with our analysis is sometimes dim considering our pick challenge record last week. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to your favorite NFL football podcast that has been sweeping the YouTube feeds for the past couple of years now, and we're going to continue until we don't feel like it anymore at some point, or until one of us just gives up completely. Either or. We'll see. Welcome to another edition of the Sports Agents of Chaos podcast. Of course, leading the proceedings with a somewhat short soliloquy this week is the Iceman, myself, Jerry. And joining me on the other side of the screen, you love him. I don't think anyone hates him on the show. Well, certain countries and foreign ambassadors might. The man himself who is never going to be afraid to give his opinion on anything. The Podfather himself. Podfather, how we doing?
Well, I'm not burning down the United Nations like a certain somebody was today, but I'm doing.
I
mean, come on now. I mean,
that's fair.
But I mean, I am doing well. Nice to kind of just be able to relax and have an evening where we can just talk some football and lick our wounds from last week's debauchery, and we'll see what this week has in store. It should be a fun one.
Indeed, to say the very least, ladies and gentlemen. As you can tell by the title, there's a certain NFL team we're going to be talking about in this episode, Rick, because there's certainly a team that has fallen well below expectations for I think everybody this season, and we're going to have a bit of conversation as what is going on with this squad.
Yeah, what the hell's going on in Green Bay?
Yeah, I know, disappointing already. 1 week.
Fire Matt LaFleur. Come on, let's go on the train. Let's go.
Raise the banners.
I like the beacons.
Like the beacons. Like the beam. But before we do all that, ladies and gentlemen, of course, as you know, the tagline of the show, fun football chaos, even though we kind of find a way to weave in all three of every single aspect of the show. Yeah. Let's start with the fun. Now, our games master is not with us to start the show, so lack of games this week. But Justin will be joining us here in a little bit to join us for the main football analysis portion. And of course, the hashtag SAOC pick challenge. But before we get to that, we still have a little bit of fun we could do for ourselves because, we have multiple, little brain workouts for all of you, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to start something that we've been meaning to talk about for a while here. Maybe we'll get a tier list going here at some point. May have to make one, unfortunately, which is effort. Maybe we'll make a tier list of a more expanded version of this conversation. But in a little bit, we're going to actually have some NFL Hall of Fame game talk. Not back the actual Hall of Fame game in the preseason. That doesn't really mean anything. At work recently for myself, I had a very interesting conversation amongst a couple coworkers of mine, and it reminded me of a conversation that Rick and I have had in the past on other sports. So we're going to bring it here with football and kind of discuss it a little bit. I mainly want to get Rick's take on it because I think it'd be very interesting to say at the very least. But before we get to that, Rick, Podfather, you take the proceedings because it is time for another mind-blowing fact.
We've missed these, haven't we? It's been a while since we had one, I think. So one of the big things that's going on in the world nowadays is an effort for conservation and an effort for recycling, if you will. But it turns out that Hollywood has already done some significant recycling in of itself. Obviously, television show reboots, if you follow us, you know about our Harry Potter conversations and all of that. Of course, that's what we do. But there's something that's a little bit deeper and a little bit similar in a way. And I literally just discovered this about 20 minutes ago. So this is a pretty hot off the presses, mind-blowing fact here. It's known to certain circles, but I don't know if we're aware of it. Because I'm not sure if we are fans of or watch these shows significantly. But there are 3 shows across the spectrum of television that, believe it or not, aired in 3 different decades and all used the same set. Yep. Well, one of the same sets, I should say.
Okay, I was going to say, wait a second.
Yeah. So there was a repurposed set for a show that started off in the late 80s, early 90s, which was basically, reconstituted and recalculated for an early 2000s show on a different network. And then, because, again, they all share the same backlots, it was basically repurposed and rebuilt for a 2010s show. Interestingly enough, 3 shows that you wouldn't expect to see sharing the same set. And that would be because the same set where Zach Morris and Kelly Kapowski had their escapades and Saved by the Bell was the same set where Raven Baxter had her moments of clarity and That's So Raven. And then was the same set that housed the lockers of Carly Shay, Sam Puckett, and Freddie Benson. The same hallway set went all three shows. Saved by the Bell, That's So Raven, and iCarly.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's crazy. And honestly, if someone does come across this specific episode with the mind-blowing fact and they hear this, I can only imagine the people that are flocking to like get screenshots right now to like see the similarities. But honestly, when you point it out like that, Rick, I think like if you go back, you'll see it.
You'll see some similarities. Yeah, you'll see some similarities in the way the staircase was set up and the lockers and all that. Yeah, you'll see some. And it's interesting. I mean, I get it. You know, you want to use the same kind of like idea and same kind of set for all the schools. And obviously, the fact that it stayed through 3 decades of not only show changes and everything and studio changes, but also 3 decades of television filming changes. Because if you think about the way the color scheme was in the 90s and 80s with Saved by the Bell, and then what they were doing in the 2000s with the different, like, That's So Raven was more of like a live, almost like a live taping type of thing, where iCarly, you could tell, was more taped.
Yeah.
But they were different. It was interesting the way that they were also filmed and shook out. But yeah, I mean, this is just one of a variety, a myriad of different recycled sets all across the way. But I will say this one to me was just quite interesting because it was one of those ones where, you know, you're just like, 3 different decades and the same damn hallway. So I almost imagined a crossover where Tiffany Thiessen and Mark Paul Goslin just end up in iCarly, and they're like, "This was our hallway," you know. You can go home again, apparently.
Clearly, that's amazing. And you mentioned like it going through multiple decades, multiple changes. Like you got to give a shout out and do credit to like the set designers there and
100%
changing it with the look, because the camera quality, of course, also has to like different camera technology. It scales up and makes it different. But like the crew to make it feel like I watched iCarly. I watched a little bit of That's So Raven growing up, but the main thing for me was iCarly. Like I would never have been able like to figure that out like just blindly as a kid. Like I think a lot of credit. I'm willing to bet like if people haven't seen like that as now a fact here, the mind-blowing fact here of the week for us, or like they probably random pages like that cover old shows post that type of stuff. Like I think just a general viewer would have absolutely zero idea that this was the case.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I think most people kind of understand the iCarly and Victorious connection because they were basically filming in the same lot, they're on the same network and all of that. But yeah,
and for a while they did overlap in terms of
did. Yeah. But I mean, again, and I know Saved by the Bell, the reruns are Viacom, so they're all Nickelodeon. But I mean, it's interesting that Viacom lasted all that time, and then they had that one, and it was just the one that they love to use over and over again. But again, you're right. When a set is built that well and it lasts that amount of decades, you got to give that designer all the props in the world because that's a feat right there. And the fact that it was treated and handled and repurposed, the fact that it was made that well and then preserved that well for 3 decades is saying something. So
well, I feel like, and part of this also, and obviously this isn't like with live action stuff, this is more like a hand-drawn animation thing, but like it's kind of one of those fun things that like I've seen people point out about Disney, right? Where like they've taken the like mannerisms of like the hand-drawn characters from certain, I'm sure you've seen the posts, Rick, of like I think one of the characters from was it the Jungle Book to Christopher Robin's in
no, I know what you're talking about. It's the repurposing.
It's maybe not Jungle Book, but you know what I'm saying.
It's Jungle Book to Robin Hood.
Robin Hood.
The animation's recycled over from Jungle Book to Robin Hood. Yes.
So this kind of like this aspect of recycling these things is like it's very much been a thing in entertainment for a very long time. Of part of it is if it works, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But it's also like it's that old timey thing, and it's really the kind of thing that the two of us appreciate. I'm sure Justin as well. Like of everything needs to matter when it comes to making this animation stuff. Like this isn't the modern day capitalism of penny pinching. It's just of like, hey, making sure that this stuff can last for a very long time because just using it once is wasteful.
100%.
It's the old timey thought that it harkens you back to the good old days in society when there was probably still corruption and greed, but it wasn't as overt as it was now. So,
It's true. It was a simpler time back then.
And we shed a tear to those simple, tragically lost times.
It was a simpler time back then. The Seahawks were in the AFC West, the Cardinals were in the NFC East, and cartoons were just better than they are currently.
And that will always be true. But as we shed a tear to the past, we must clap for the present. That was a fantastic mind-blowing fact of the week right there.
Oh, thank you. Yes,
that was fantastic to say the very least.
Thank you.
So give yourself a nice little pat on the back.
Yes, thank you.
Very much well deserved. So from a mind-blowing fact to continuing to work the minds, but let's go to football. So Rick, interesting conversation I heard from some of my NFL compatriots at my current place of employment earlier in the week. And considering it's a Tuesday, there's only 2 days for me to pick from when I say earlier in the week. I was hearing a very interesting conversation that harkened me back to convos that we've had, Rick. As you mentioned there, as part of the entertainment thing that we've talked about, the Harry Potter reboot in the past, which, trust me, ladies and gentlemen, there might be a one spin-off episode by itself once we get closer to that time, or at least every once in a while, because we'll continue to have thoughts about that. We have brought up numerous occasions that we're both hockey fans. We have had hockey conversations. We have done little one-off hockey specials here on the channel, which I'm not going to promise a certain amount, but we're probably going to try to factor in a handful if we can during this NHL season because we like to talk puck. What can I say? And one of the conversations, Rick, that I feel like not even just us, multiple NHL podcasts have had over years now, and even NHL fans in discourse, is if Connor McDavid were to retire today, would he go into the Hockey Hall of Fame? And the answer is yes. It's not even close.
Duh.
And especially after the last 2 years, I think the answer has become, well, he's probably going to be first ballot. So, and especially considering the past two NHL Hockey Hall of Fame classes, I don't think you can make an argument anymore to try to keep him out at this juncture. So I heard a very similar type of conversation like that with my coworkers. Now, I'm sure the first name that a majority of people would think of, because when we have that in hockey, we talk about Connor McDavid. NFL, the first person you're going to go to is Patrick Mahomes, and it's the same thing with Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is locked. That probably going to be, even if he were to retire today, if he said, you know what, sick of this, I'm going to ride off into the sunset and go into voice acting, and he'll be Kermit the Frog in the abridged series of abridged series on YouTube of the character.
Yeah, that's right.
But in all seriousness, obviously Patrick Mahomes would be the first name you go to. Of like, okay, yeah, boom. Certified first ballot Hall of Famer. But what about other quarterbacks around the league? So we're going to play a little bit of a Hall of Fame game here, and we're going to start, and depending on how long we go, this might be the only two names we talk about. I think it's very interesting two names because we know Patrick Mahomes first. It's going to be first ballot. We done and dusted. When we do a tier list one of these days, in terms of like how we're going to rank it in terms of like first ballot at the very top and not a snowball's chance in hell at the bottom. Patrick Mahomes is very much going in the first ballot block. He's going to be first ballot. He is Thanos. He is inevitable in that. But it was not Mahomes that was the topic of this conversation with my coworkers. It was two other guys who I think it's very interesting, Rick, because, look, my personal opinion, I have a different guy in my top three with the NFL quarterbacks. But for a lot of other people, these are the other two of the top three in the NFL today when it comes to signal callers. And that's Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. And I've pulled up both of their information here on behind the scenes for myself, so I can bring up like any like main statistics. Like if we just want to list off their accomplishments here real quick in terms of like personal achievements, we can do that just to give context to it. But Rick, posing this question to you: if both men, Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen, were to retire today, Lamar just wants to ride off into the sunset and start writing children's books, and if Josh Allen wants to try to be Haley Steinfeld's Colts next co-star in a movie because he does not like the way Michael B. Jordan's been looking at her recently. Then if the two of them were to retire today, what would be their probability of going into the Hall of Fame? So again, I have information in the back if we want to maybe start that off of just like accomplishments between the two men. Let's play both. We'll play both sides. Let's do a bit of a case basis here. Let's start with Lamar here, Rick. Because I think for a good amount of people, Lamar probably does rank as the number 2 quarterback in the league behind Patrick Mahomes. I think there is a good amount of people that would probably just pick Lamar slightly over Josh Allen. So let's look at Lamar's case first. In terms of individual awards and highlights, we know he is a 2-time most valuable player of the league. He's made to the All-Pro first team 3 times in his career, 4 Pro Bowls. He's led the NFL in passing touchdowns once. He's 1 time in passer rating, which is also pretty good. He has currently, this can obviously change because he's still playing, but again, let's say as of today, he has the career passer rating for a quarterback of minimum of 1,500 passing attempts with 103.1. He has the most career rushing yards by any quarterback. He has the single season rushing yards record by a quarterback, and he has he is tied for the most career games by a quarterback with a perfect passer rating in the league. And also just other slight individual things. He has a good amount of 3,000-yard passing seasons. Of course, last year he had the amazing 4,000-yard passing season, first time in his career, 41 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. And so far to start the season through 3 games, he is currently at 9 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. So he hasn't thrown a pick this season yet, just to know. Looking at Josh Allen's case, as we know, by hook or by crook, if people want to have an agreement or disagreement, whatever it is, Josh Allen is the 2024 NFL MVP. He is the reigning most valuable player in the NFL. He has twice made the All-Pro team, both times being second-teamer, 3 Pro Bowl awards for himself, and was also awarded the Art Rooney Award for last season. He has the highest passer rating in a single postseason in NFL history with a 149.0 back in 2021, and he has the most rushing touchdowns by a quarterback in a single season. This record is also tied. He tied that record back in 2023. For Josh Allen, up until last season, because last season he missed out on 4,000 passing yards by just a bit, but it was, you could probably argue, I think most would say, was the best passing season of his career. 6 interceptions, 28 passing touchdowns, and prior to last season's sub 4,000 passing yards, he had 4 straight seasons of 4,000 passing yards or more for himself. And good amount of, solid postseason, touchdown to interception ratio. He has 25 passing touchdowns in the postseason, 4 interceptions. Lamar, not as favorably for himself on that end in terms of passing touchdowns to interceptions, to say the very least. So 2 guys, I see why this was interesting, Rick. And I think the first thing we think to for both guys is amazing individual talents.
Yeah. Anyone
would praise them.
Agreed.
A lot of people top 3. If you're me, you have another guy that is up there that maybe breaks it apart. Top 3 of the 4 best, top 3, whatever it is. Lamar and Josh Allen are the next 2 that get compared to Patrick Mahomes, in part because they are the same conference as him. And for essentially the last 4 or 5 years in a row, both those guys have faced him at minimum once. Josh Allen more often than not.
Yep.
Amazing individual talents. The reason their teams are winning more often than not, the reason that their teams are able to have the potential of promise for a Super Bowl is because of the individual talents that both those men are, and really the hearts and engines of their offenses for vast majority of their careers so far. Mm-hmm. So with that being said, Rick, what do you make of the conversation that my coworkers are having? I want that to throw to you, and all the time in the world on both guys that you want to spend. Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson retired today. What is the Hall of Fame case for both of them?
It's a tough question. It really is, because I think you can make an argument that Lamar goes in first ballot, no question, because he has a great amount of accolades to his stature. I mean, 2-time MVP, 4-time Pro Bowl, all of those things are great. The only thing that I would knock him on potentially be durability, because he does play a style. He does play in Baltimore where he does have some injury concerns on him. I mean, and fragility, I think, too, because I feel like if and again, maybe this is just the way that every body is different, but if Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson had similar injuries, I feel like Josh would play through it and Lamar would be out of game, would be out a week or 2. But I think that the stature of what Lamar Jackson has done warrants definite consideration. Now, again, the Pro Football Hall of Fame is a little different in the sense where it's not like statistical. It's not, strictly on that, where, you can't say to somebody, oh, you've never won a Super Bowl or you never won a World Series, so you're not a Hall of Famer. I mean, Dan Marino's in the Hall of Fame, and he never won a Super Bowl. After his rookie season, he never was sit for one. Just saying. But he was good enough to do it. Guys that are now in conversation as, retired players who are now eligible, Phillip Rivers. Obviously, Drew Brees is getting in. Rivers is an interesting case. But again, that's your question. If does the Super Bowl matter? I mean, Brees threw for 80,000 yards, but he didn't win a Super Bowl. So without that, what does it matter? Josh Allen, I think, is hitting his prime and his stride right now. And that's what makes it really interesting. Because I feel like both of these guys would benefit from a change of scenery. I think that either one of these guys goes to an NFC team and they're immediately going to the Super Bowl. The problem is that they're just stuck playing in the same conference as Mahomes. And so that wears on you a little bit, obviously. But I believe that Josh Allen's case is he's getting there. I don't think he's there quite yet because I think that he's still, like I said, he's in his prime. He's still gaining these awards and these accolades, and he's, trying to right a wrong here. I also think, too, that it would mean a little bit more if Josh Allen won a Super Bowl than if Lamar Jackson did. I think you can make an argument that the Super Bowl curse of not winning it hinders Josh Allen's chances of being the first ballot Hall of Famer more than does Lamar Jackson. I think with everything that Josh Allen has done so far, if he is able to lead Buffalo to a title win, it will speak a little more volume, I think, because Lamar doesn't necessarily need it because of everything he's done individually. And while if he wanted it would be a nice little feather in the cap, again, Baltimore's won pretty recently when you compare it to Buffalo. Buffalo had that run of 4 title game appearances in the 90s and didn't do anything, and then they haven't sniffed it since. They've gotten close, but again, it's been Mahomes or it's been Burrow, it's been knocking them down. Lamar seems to have overcome all that adversity by being MVP, by being a guy who is efficient and accurate and lethal. Whereas Josh Allen seems to kind of fall on the other side where it's like, win a Super Bowl and then we'll talk. As unfair as that sounds. And trust me, I think it's unfair too. But I do believe that in Josh Allen's case, for whatever reason, again, he's in his prime right now and he's hitting his stride right now, but if they retired today, Lamar first ballot, Josh Allen probably second or third ballot, I would say. Josh Allen wins the Super Bowl this year and then goes out, first ballot. But if not, I think you're still looking at second or third. I think there's too many intangibles right now that just have to say to me, he's not there yet, but he's trending in the right direction and he's on his way to being that guy. Again, fair or unfair, if you compare side by side, Lamar has a little bit more depth and a little bit more accolades to his name than Josh Allen does. And, I think that's the way you got to look at it. Is that Lamar doesn't need the Super Bowl win to justify his greatness. Josh Allen needs it just because of the feather in the cap of what it will do for him. I'll liken it to this. Matt Stafford. Does he go into the Hall of Fame if the Rams don't win the Super Bowl? It's a big question mark, right?
I think some people are still asking that question, even though he has the Super Bowl.
Right, of course. But that's it. That's the thing is that I think him winning the Super Bowl kind of stamps the case that he's at least in the conversation of it.
Right.
He might not get there, but at least now it's more of a conversation than anything else. Whereas, again, you have these other really talented quarterbacks who play and never get there, and they're remembered as being, they were fine. They were fine players, but they're got to be remembered for something else. I think Boomer Esiason's a great example too, because he was a decent player in his time. Never won the big one, but he's been such a stalwart in the league, and a part of broadcasting and a part of commentary and everything else, that the full body of work, he will probably get into the Hall of Fame at some point for the full body of work.
Right.
Would a Super Bowl win with the Bengals maybe change his fortunes? Possibly. But, he's a guy that I think everyone looks at and says he will eventually get in there because of all the work he's done outside of playing.
Right. Like as a contributor, because we are seeing it in every single Hall of Fame now. Like people are being inducted in for their contributions to the game outside of playing it, whether they played it initially or not.
Exactly.
From that perspective. Yeah. For me, recently a new podcast that I discovered, and not even just knew that I discovered it, it's actually just a new podcast in general. Like they were having a conversation about like Hall of Fame one day about NFL. And one of the guys, like one of his things that he listed for himself for his personal criteria is if you were a top 5 player at your position in the NFL for a good while, it gives you a strong case. And if you were specifically a top 3 player for a while, that is a significant thing. Because like you said, Rick, if you truly do like go back at a good amount of Hall of Famers, I think a lot of people would be surprised, like the amount of not just Pro Bowls, but even all pro teams that guys have. And like they would probably be shocked. Randy Moss only was technically elected to the Pro Bowl, 6 times?
Mm-hmm.
Randy Moss, we're talking about a guy who from the moment he came into the NFL up until like a season or two after the 2007 Patriots, for a dozen seasons, was one of the best wide receivers in the world, and obviously one of the best of all time, was only half the time elected to make it to the Pro Bowl, and was about even slightly less than that named one of the best receivers at his position, because I think he has 5 All-Pro first teams.
Mm-hmm.
Again, talk about the guy who set the rookie receiving touchdown record when he came in, and still to this day holds the greatest single-season individual receiving touchdowns record for wide receiver, because him and Brady very much helped each other out in that regard.
Oh, great. Absolutely.
So I think the individual statistics can help with certain guys when maybe they've had the team success, but do they have the individual stuff to back it up? And if they don't have the team success, if they were that overwhelmingly good of an individual player, that level of talent, because I think when you mention it is that sometimes I think the talent of a player and what they really were at the core of it plays a role. Like for all the opinions on him, and this is going to be a great litmus test to see how consistent the Hall of Fame voters are, because they've held out certain people in the past for being off the field drama and issues like this. I'm going to say this right now. Aaron Rodgers is going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. And in his day and age, not a lot of quarterbacks you could say have caused so much off the field conversation about whether it's about football or not about football more than him. But the way that Rodgers, first off, the four MVPs, the Super Bowl MVP, like the on the field stats scream for themselves. But it's Rodgers was really the first guy, Rick, to combine not super mobility, obviously he's not Lamar, but pretty good ability to move around and scramble and extend plays and make plays, but be hyper accurate. Like it was an aberration for the likes of Breeze and Brady and Rodgers to have a season of 35, 40, 45 touchdowns, but have that even 10 interceptions would be nice. Like back then, guys would be throwing 30 touchdowns with like 12, 15, 16 interceptions, almost like a 2-to-1 ratio. Now, with a 2-to-1 ratio, we're talking about does this guy have a long-term future as the starting quarterback of a respective team? Rodgers was one of the guys. Breeze as well, I want to give him his proper credit. But Rodgers was one of those guys that, helped set this new standard of what we see passing excellence as. Super high touchdown count, amazing completion percentage, game in and game out. Efficiency, limiting the mistakes as much as you can, and him specifically having such a great arm at the peak of his powers. He was the best Hail Mary football thrower in the league for a several season stretch. Like, I think, the talent of a player, I think in today's and this is me giving credit to the media for once, which, as Rick can attest to, I don't really do that on the show. But I think slowly, especially as we're going to get new voters here, eventually cycle out the old fogies. I think the looking at the talent of the players is going to come into effect. And I think we're slowly going to get people who maybe not the exact wording as I said it, but were you towards the top of the NFL? Were you at the pinnacle of the sport, at the pinnacle of your position for a significant stretch of time? I think that's going to play a role. Lamar Jackson won his first MVP award in the second season of his career. So if we want to just go that far back to 2019 and we fast forward here to 2025, we're talking about for 7 seasons in a row that Lamar Jackson has been a top 3 quarterback in the NFL, most likely. When it comes to Josh Allen, even though he only just won his first MVP award, it was starting to be in the 2020 season where he really broke out. That was his first 4,000-yard passing season. That's still to this point, actually, his career high in both passing yards and touchdowns was the 2020 season. So if we want to go to 2020 for him, we're talking about 6 seasons where he's probably been a top 5-ish quarterback in the league, and for the last couple of years has been top 3, top 4, right? Like, I think from a talent level perspective, both of these guys, as pure, like, strip away the achievements, strip away the accomplishments. As pure football talents, I think there is a legitimate conversation to say that the two of them are 2 of the top 10 to 12 quarterback talents the game has ever seen, legitimately. I think the way they've come into the modern football era, and for Lamar, it was different. Didn't have the arm strength of Allen, but he did have the good accuracy, and he had to prove it that he could improve as a passer. And I don't think Lamar gets enough credit in today's era for how much he's improved as a passer from the start of his career. And this last season, I think, was the pinnacle of that, 40-plus touchdowns and 4 interceptions, right? Josh Allen, we know he came in right with the prototypical big-arm quarterback, and he still makes his mistakes. The man deserves all the credit in the world. Even though the numbers were not eye-popping last season, the best touchdown-to-interception ratio of his career was last season. He made strides to become an even more accurate passer than he was already showing to be by his 3rd or 4th season in the league. I think the 2 of them have the talents to where I don't think it's a question if they both retire today. I think they would go in the Hall of Fame just as you have them. And I think what you say is correct I think right now, Lamar's resume alone without the Super Bowl, he's in the Hall of Fame. I'm 50-50 on the first ballot aspect of it, just because I still think there's a bit of a standard with that when it comes to the NFL. But I think he has a strong case to make for it. Whereas Josh Allen, I think, to your point, I think just the blanket resume as is, I think the Super Bowl is that exclamation point of, boom, here it is. And, of course, let's be real, and once again, let's be honest, this is where I do have to detract a little bit with the media. We know the media wants a story. We know that they take that stuff into account when it comes to this stuff. And if Josh Allen breaks the curse of the Buffalo Bills, and let's just say professional Buffalo sports teams in general, and delivers a championship to Buffalo, whether it's first ballot or not, he's going in. I think right now, kind of like you said, I think right now he's fine. He might have to wait a little bit. I think a Super Bowl within the next year or two, you lock stamp it. It's going to happen. It's just when will it happen? Yeah. Because I
think the great unknown in all of this too is you have to take into account that we're not speaking of because we don't know what it's going to be. Is because the Pro Football Hall of Fame is so restrictive on the qualifications you need, the eligibility, the votes that you need to get into the Hall of Fame. Lamar could be first ballot Hall of Famer, but the holdovers from the year prior might make it so that he won't go in first ballot. That's the thing. I mean, look at how long. And I won't speak ill of his game because I don't know how great of an athlete he was. I assume he was if he's a Hall of Famer, but look at how long Drew Pearson had to wait.
Yeah, I think he is the standard of a guy who in his time was so great, but just year after year after year he was being passed by, and he eventually gets in so many years later. Yep.
I mean, again, it's you hate for guys to get in after they pass, because those guys have probably been waiting so long to get in. But that's the great unknown that you don't know about is that, let's just play a devil's advocate type of game here. Lamar retires a year before Josh Allen does. So his candidacy starts a year before Josh Allen's does.
Correct.
And then you're going to say, well, let's say that for whatever reason Lamar is not a first ballot Hall of Famer. Then in his second year of Hall of Fame candidacy, it's Josh Allen's first year of candidacy.
Right.
And that's when you're going to start comparing the two, realistically.
Yep.
You know? But again, it's that inevitability of the unknown of how everyone's going to vote, but also the inevitability of you're going to have holdovers. I mean, we know that. We've done this 2 years in a row when the semifinalists have been announced. We've done this 2 years in a row. We've said who we think will win the finals, and we're surprised at who doesn't move on. We said they would. So, that's the inevitability of the whole thing is that with how restrictive this Hall of Fame is, you're going to have some controversy like that. And trust me when I tell you, you will have people who will be shocked when Lamar Jackson's not a first ballot Hall of Famer, but it's not because of merit. It's just because this is arguably the toughest Hall of Fame to get into, I would say. The Baseball Hall of Fame is one thing, but the fact that the Football Hall of Fame is so narrow and you have to get such a majority on the vote, I believe it's 80% on the final ballot. You have to get 80% on the final ballot. That's pretty tough.
Yeah.
So these guys, listen, they may wait 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to think about. But it wouldn't surprise me. Are they deserve it first or second ballot? Absolutely. But it wouldn't surprise me if they got to wait 5 or 6 years to get there.
Mm-hmm.
Just because of how narrow the margins are to get into camp.
Right. And I think the thing that you bring up is something that we need to have more discourse about now. Like it needs, I think it's, I always forget the word. I think it's maybe like internally said by people, but it's not externally given enough. The class that is preceding you, the group of players of the last year or two that didn't get in, and then who you're coming in with matters. Because this season, for example, like last season, right? Eli Manning didn't get in first ballot. Yep. I'm going to say I was legitimately surprised. My qualms I have with Eli aside, I think that was a legitimate surprise for a lot of people. And now we do need to look at the fact of, when is he going to get in? Because the main quarterback that's coming in this year that I think we all agree is probably going to get in first ballot is Drew Brees. And if Drew Brees is getting in, will this end up being Eli's year? And now I think for myself personally, I think we do need to consider, and I'm not saying this to dilute the Hall of Fame. I just think there needs to be an understanding of the kind of talents that the league has seen the last couple of years that we do maybe at some point need to, I don't know what the current number minimum is now, or if there even is a minimum, but I think there needs to be a conversation of like, is there a minimum we can set up right now of like, It needs to be this many guys that go in, because it just doesn't sit right that certain guys are going to be left off because, people can submit an incomplete ballot. Like, I generally don't think it's a requirement of like, you don't need to put 8 names on your Hall of Fame, on your final NFL Hall of Fame ballot. You could just put 5. And I don't think that's acceptable from the writers because I think there has been, especially now in the modern era, there's so much talent that I think you can add the right guys in, but not dilute the Hall. You know what I mean? Like,
agreed.
I don't think anyone is going to say like, you're diluting the Hall of Fame if Aaron Rodgers, and I know they're so many years apart, but just bear with me here. If Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes go in the same year, or Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady, you're not diluting the Hall of Fame if you do that, because that is 2 of the greatest we have ever seen do it.
But I think the other problem too is that it's a 53-man roster in football. It's 11 on 11. So let me just spin a question because you're going to have a comparison then, basically, right? So in their primes, would you take Aaron Rodgers or Anthony Munoz, the left tackle, in their prime? That's where it gets unfair because you're comparing a quarterback who, yes, you say is the general of all generals, to the guy who's covering his blind side, who's one of the meanest, toughest offensive linemen ever to play the game. And I feel like In baseball, it's different because you can compare, MVP and all of that. But then you come into the question of, you're going to have people that are saying, well, what is truly the most valuable position in a football roster? And you're going to have discourse there. Quarterback, left tackle, punter, kicker, it's a big question mark there.
Well, real quick, we want to talk about Hall of Fames. The hashtag SAOC Hall of Famer has joined the show now, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, our games master is here. He has arrived. Justin, how are we doing?
Finally. Yeah, good. Doing well. How you guys doing?
We're doing good. We are just about reaching the tail end of our Hall of Fame game discussion here. Talk a little bit about quarterbacks here, Justin. Justin, I'll throw the question really quick to you because we want to get give us your 2 cents here really fast on the topic. I essentially gave to Rick some coworkers of mine were having the conversation. If they were to retire today, not at the end of the season, not projecting ahead, if they were to retire today, what are the Hall of Fame cases and likelihoods to you for Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen?
Yeah, I think they're both likely the way things are going. I mean, it's been proven you don't have to win a Super Bowl to be a Hall of Famer. It is obviously harder as a quarterback because some people have, Super Bowls as a quarterback stat, which I think you can argue. But you have to be comparatively top, 2 to 5% of your position. And so far, at least the last 3-4 years, they have been the top quarterbacks in the league. I mean, you can maybe add in Mahomes, and because he has the Super Bowls and the stats and things like that, and maybe Burrow if he's not injured. Right. Who else really is there? I mean, they've been at the top of the league pretty much since Brady retired. So, yeah, I mean, if things continue to go the way they are, sure. If their careers ended today, I think we'd have a lot more to talk about. I mean, it's not like, we expect now you have to have at least 10 years of excellence, right? And have either of them even been in the league for 10 years?
They have not. But it's actually interesting that you bring in the top 2 to 5% thing, Justin, because you very closely, minus the percentage aspect of it, you kind of brought in what I mentioned earlier of a way to look at a Hall of Fame case now that's like is growing on me of, were you a top 3 to 5 player at your position in the NFL for a substantial period of time? And the way that I've looked at it is, if you take Lamar Jackson, who won his first MVP award his second season in the league, so that's 2019, that would mean Lamar Jackson has, in some way, shape, or form, been a top 3 to 4 or 5 quarterback for 7 years now. Now, that's not 10 years, but that's pretty close to 10 years. And then you look at Josh Allen, who, if you want to take it, yes, he only just won his first MVP last season, but his first 4,000 plus passing yard season was in 2020. He had 4,500 and change that year, and that was also the first time he went over 35 passing touchdowns in the season. I want to say he went for like 37. So, again, tough because no early MVP award like with Lamar. But if maybe you want to take from that point, he's been a top 5 quarterback, that's also 6 years. So that's 2 pretty good stretches of time for both guys. Now, if you want to technically knock off this season because it's only a couple games in, then it's still about 6 to 5 years, which I think for a top 3 to 5 player at your position peak, for 3 MVP awards between the two of them, there's a pretty strong. Ultimately, I think all 3 of us agree, there's Hall of Fame talent there. It would just end up being the conversation of how quickly would they get in if their careers were cut short. Because I think, I could be wrong, I think an extension of the conversation that was being had by my coworkers, I think one of them brought up, is Andrew Luck kind of becoming like the line for this, right? Because he's been on the docket now for a couple of years, and I just don't think it's ever going to happen with him, because I think there was too much taken away from Luck's career. Whereas with Allen and Lamar, we've seen a little bit more, and the two of them have more of the individual accolades that helps them out comparatively.
I think that you're going to need some of these individual accolades going forward. And I think that you're probably going to need to be on some record sheets too. I mean, especially as a quarterback, you're going to need to be a top 30 all-time passer, top 20 all-time passer in yards, in touchdowns, in wins, things like that. The years of, the quarterbacks losing and still being, I think maybe the last quarterback you're going to see with, I don't even know if he's got a losing record, but with a rough win percentage is probably going to be Stafford. If you think about it, if you think he is a Hall of Famer, I know a lot of people would debate otherwise. But And that's because he was on a horrible team for a long time. But realistically, from now going forward, you're going to need to have a good winning record as a quarterback if you're going to want to make it into this Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Or at least above 500, because the sticking point of a guy who I just mentioned just as you were joining on, or just before, I think, and he's going to come up here again because this is going to be a second year on the ballot, is Eli, because I believe Eli finished his career with an exact 500 winning percentage.
That was close. Well, do you know
in the regular season?
Can you name a quarterback that's in the Hall of Fame that has a losing record?
Isn't it Joe Namath?
Yeah.
He's not the only one, right? I
don't remember if there's another one or not, but I know he is.
I want to say, I was hearing this recently. I think there's maybe one or two others. But yeah, I know Joe Namath is the easy, it's like the immaculate grid when you have to try to get like the least probable answer. It's like Joe Namath is the one that like 97% of the people are going to name because he's the first one everybody thinks of.
Yep.
And then it goes from there. But hey, that was the NFL Hall of Fame game. And ladies and gentlemen, we could very much have other Hall of Fame type conversations. This could finally be the jumping off point because we've wanted to talk about the Hall of Fame for a while now, aside from just us listing the next upcoming batch of participants at the end, which took a quick look at 2026. Oh boy, it's stacked. There's going to be some talented players that get left off for a while, to say the very least.
There are two, by the way.
We had some arguments last year.
Yeah.
And we're going to have more this year.
Yeah. So it's not just Joe Namath, and I hate to bring this guy up because it's going to hurt the man to my left, I suppose, on the pod, the screen. But Sonny Jurgensen also has a losing record.
Hey, how dare you?
69, 71, and 7.
The most successful name of Jurgen in professional sports history. Well, maybe Jurgen Klinsmann might go above him, actually.
I was going to say. Yeah.
Top three, Sonny Jurgensen. Top three most successful Jurgen is in the name of them in all sports history. If there's a third in there, let me know. Because I can only name two.
Isn't Jurgen Klopp also?
Did he play?
I don't know.
This is my lack of soccer. I have no idea if he played or not.
He's a very successful coach, though.
I was talking about playing, that's why.
We'll find somebody.
There's why this is football and not football.
Close enough.
So, ladies and gentlemen, of course, Justin is here, so we can really get rolling with the show. Podfather, I'll leave the choice to you because the gods of our game have brought this up, aka the higher ups, the higher powers. Justin, I've been told through the grapevine, does have a trivia for us. Do you want to pull up a little game of trivia here, Rick, before we get to his all gas breaks?
Go for it, 100%.
Justin,
all right,
you have a trivia for us?
I do. Okay, so there are currently tied for first place in this stat. There are currently 3 players all time who have had 9 rushing touchdowns of 45 or longer yards, 45 plus yards. So 9 total before the age of 27. You understand what I'm saying there?
Yeah.
3 players all time are currently tied for first place with the most rushing touchdowns over 45 yards before the age of 27.
Got it.
Okay.
They all 3 have 9. Can you give me the 3 players?
Before the age of 27.
Now, in the interest of time, and because you guys only have 3 guesses each, I did workshop this at Rosh Hashanah dinner. We went through a lot of running backs.
Nice.
I'm going to tell you they all played within our lifetime.
Oh, so that then takes away my first guess.
Yeah, I was gonna say that took away one of my first guesses too.
All right.
Yeah.
So
just for argument's sake, Jerry, what was your first guess going to be?
I was going to say, well, real quick, I'm the youngest of the 3 of us, so I'm trying to remember when you 2 fossils were born real fast.
What the hell? 91.
91 and 92, baby.
Come on now.
I had to mess with you a little bit. Rick,
Fossils.
One of my first guesses was going to be Walter Payton because I feel for his.
That's everyone's first guess.
100%. I was going to go OJ actually.
That's fair.
At the age of 27.
Yeah.
Look, he was a talented player. He did stuff off the field as well, but he was a talented player on it.
Again, there are things that we'd rather not discuss, but
okay. So
the Big Ben is off the field stuff. I mean, Naked Gun is a great movie.
Yeah. So something with it. So for me, all right. I'll just so we can get rolling here. My first guess will be a guy who ended up winning the MVP award. He was a dynamo electric playmaker. He was starting from day one in his career, like without question. Barry Sanders is going to be the first guess I throw out there.
All right. No, it's not Barry's Cowboys.
Oh, I felt good about that one.
I feel like this is going to be a one that's a little bit of like a weird,
Like a weird name or
answer.
two.
Yeah, almost. But also, I feel like this is going to be a guy who maybe had a successful early part to his career, but didn't really have anything towards the end. So I'm going to throw a name out there because he was really good when he was younger, when he first came into the league. I don't know if he had 9 of these, though, but it's worth a shot. Clinton Portis.
Ooh, no, it's not Clinton.
I was gonna say he was electric. He was a shot in the dark there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, the other thing that I'm thinking about is maybe this has to do with guys that were just announced as first-time Hall of Fame nominees, because there is a guy that's there. I'm sure you saw it, Jerk, that he's a first-time eligibility guy.
I was gonna say, because I don't want to take it from you. So what I was starting to think in my head of after my Barry Sanders guess was, okay, maybe still in the realm like 2,000-yard rushers, right? Like recent 2,000-yard rushers or guys that are. So of course we know the most recent is Saquon.
Yeah.
The thing that kind of holds me back with Saquon is because he had so many bad injury seasons with the Giants. I'm kind of 50-50 on that. Like it could be, it could not. But 2 other guys that pop in my mind, Rick. Adrian Peterson is the next one. We know the amazing season he had. Like he was dynamite early in his career.
Yep.
This is the next one for me. And tell me not, because this is specifically 45-plus yard touchdown runs. Yep. Rick, tell me not if you think this is a good guess. CJ2K. Chris Johnson was dynamo in Tennessee. And he had a 3-year stretch when I think he ripped off a lot of those son of a guns.
Chris Johnson.
That's not my official guess. I'm just saying, what do you think? What do you think of that potential guess?
I don't think it's that bad of a guess. Here's my thing. How many times did he get over 45 that he was tackled though?
He had to score.
Yeah. It's not a bad guess. If you want.
CJ 2K breaking off a 45-yard run and someone was catching him also.
Yeah.
That's fast.
He didn't always have runaway from top speed, you know. CJ 2K is not a bad guess if you think about it. I was gonna pitch Todd Gurley potentially.
That's true. Like he's so tragic. Like you know what's funny is that people still keep showing like most yards or touchdowns since he started in the league, and he's still in the top 10 just because he was so good.
He was so dominant.
He was so good. But actually, a current name popped into my head now that I'm thinking about it because there's a guy whose running style is just too good. What about Derrick Henry? What about the King? What about
Is that your official guess?
Yeah. What about the King?
Oh.
What about the King? What about
Derrick
Henry?
Henry is on the list. Yes, correct.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, because you guys were going through players that like, listen to these players, listen to those players, but nobody said.
I was waiting for Jurg to get back to me, but obviously, that didn't happen. So.
I mean, I let Rick go with the Hall of Fame thing, so I was just letting him go from there.
That is true. That is true.
Derrick Henry is the first name that you guys have gotten on the list.
Okay.
1 of 3. You guys,
Rick, you think
total?
Rick, you think Adrian Peterson's on this bad boy? He did have some rips early in his career.
He did.
Like I think in his rookie season, he probably had at least 3 of these kinds of runs by itself.
He did, but when was the 2,000-yard season? How old was he when he did that?
That's the only thing. I think the thing like. I think Adrian. That's why I was leaning towards Chris Johnson because I think he hit his 2,000-yard season at around 26. Because Adrian Peterson's 2,000-yard season, it was the year after he tore his ACL. So that was what, like I think 2012 was when he pulled it off.
Yeah.
And so he was I think he was pretty close to it. Whereas Chris Johnson, I think it was pretty early enough in his career when he pulled off that 2,000 yard, because that was what, 09?
Yeah. I mean, I'm fine if you pull either one out.
I think both are legit. I mean, technically we can go wrong with either or. Look, I mentioned it before. I think early on, one of the most dynamic NFL runners before it was sapped from him. I'll go with the more obvious answer in the next round, but give me CJ2K as one of my guesses.
CJ2K was the first to do it.
Ooh.
And just because you guys only have one more guess each, he is the only inactive player on this list.
So that helps us because Adrian Peterson is technically inactive, Rick.
Mm-hmm. It helps me too because I had one other guess in the chamber for LaDainian Tomlinson. That's not there anymore.
But either he's not active.
Okay, so I'm active.
I mentioned Saquon. Do you think he could be?
And Saquon's only 28 now, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say he just turned 28, didn't he? So technically, if we're going by 27, and he turned 28, they won the Super Bowl on his birthday. So he technically completed his full 2,000 yard season.
I'd say it's before 27, prior to the 27th birthday.
Oh, okay. All right, next.
So that's a good one.
So it has to be an active player.
There is another name that I'm thinking of, but I don't know if he is 9. However, I can picture him getting 9 potentially. Jared, what are your thoughts on Christian McCaffrey?
He was literally the next name in my brain. Because how could it not be him, right? It has to be, because it has to be him or Saquon.
No, actually, a third name popped into my head.
Jonathan Taylor. We're thinking of the same people.
Yeah.
Some other good running backs in the league still.
There are a lot of good running backs in the league.
Yeah, but I feel like we've named the 3 that are most likely. We've named. Did Jonathan Taylor get Offensive Player of the Year on his miracle season a couple years ago?
That I don't know if he did. I would like to say that he did. He should have, but I don't know.
We're naming either they did win it or Offensive Player of the Year candidates. Who in the NFL running back space are we leaving? Wait a second.
You're missing a few.
We are. I think I know one that we're missing as well.
Some of it he did receiving. Alvin Kamara?
I didn't say that you missed them already. I'm just saying you're definitely missing some people.
Rick, do you think Alvin Kamara could be on it?
Possibly. I'm thinking of another name, a guy who was really lucky to start his career, Nick Chubb.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Joe Mixon.
Mixon was really good.
Mixon was good, but I don't think he was blazing off 45 tutty runs.
Mixon
Yeah.
to start his career.
He was very good to start his career. Kamara's not a bad shout. All right, so we have 5. We have Kamara, Taylor, Barkley, McCaffrey, and Chubb. I think put Mixon to one side. I don't think it's going to be him. Ramondre Stevens to get out of the picture. That do it all.
No. He was never in the picture.
No. Well, no, he was lurking. He was like Little John lurking. I want to say it's either Barkley or McCaffrey. If it's Jonathan Taylor, I'm gonna be mad.
I would lean. I was gonna say I think because of the injuries in New York, I know he had injuries too, but I think I'm slightly leaning towards McCaffrey.
Yeah.
And if you want to say McCaffrey, and just to cover us, I'll say Jonathan Taylor, just in case it's him by surprise. Now watch it be Kamara
or Chubb.
Yeah, right.
Because Chubb had that 90 plus yarder when he was a rookie.
I think the fact that we got 2 out of 3 is pretty good to say.
That's not bad. Yeah.
So,
all right. You cover me.
I will tell you, it took like 100 guesses for my family to guess.
But to guess CJ2K. Okay. I think we were saying to guess this guy. I was like, wait a minute. All right. All right. You.
I'll submit Jonathan Taylor.
And I'm submitting McCaffrey.
And nobody is submitting Saquon.
Stop screwing with us. Tell us if we're right or wrong, goddammit.
Correct. Yeah, we're not submitting Saquon.
Okay, well, on Sunday, after a 46-yard touchdown against the Tennessee Titans, Jonathan Taylor is the one that tied the other two guys on this list for 9 total rushing touchdowns of 45 yards or more before his 27th birthday.
It is amazing to think that Jonathan Taylor is still that young. Because he feels like he's in the Austin Hooper vortex of guys who should be older than they actually are. Are still in the league. Yeah. That a jerk. That's going to be on a T-shirt that we make, the Austin Hooper vortex.
Oh, start printing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you know what it is? That's like it's the professional version of the guys that stay in college forever. Like you could tell me right now that Luke May is still on the UNC men's basketball team and Hunter Renfrow is actually still playing for Clemson University. You could convince me of that.
I mean, is it believable that Joe Mixon is only 30 or 31? He's been in the league forever.
See, that's a little more believable, though. I feel like
that, and also the fact that I remember
for 25 years.
I remember. That's cool. I remember like hearing Joe Mixon's name like at the end of my high school years and like at the start of my QC days. So it's like I can kind of it's been a while for him. Whereas like I say this with all due respect to Jonathan Taylor, it's not me saying he wasn't a good college football prospect. It's just I don't really remember hearing his name too much prior to him getting into the league. Like I maybe heard it once or twice.
Well, because no one watched Wisconsin football, obviously.
Yeah, that's fair. Because you know who it was? Who was the Wisconsin running back before Jonathan Taylor? I'm not saying immediately before. There was a Wisconsin running back before Jonathan Taylor. I thought was going to like just light the league on fire because he was a beast in like the NCAA games where it wasn't him, technically speaking.
Wasn't it like Ron Dane? Wasn't he around? Not at the same time, but like before that.
I'm trying to think. Who was it? Or maybe he didn't even go to Wisconsin. I'm confusing him with like another one of those Midwestern states.
It's possible you might be. Yeah,
I might be.
Yeah.
I might be, to be fair. Was it? Yeah. Hold on, Monty Ball. Monty Ball is the guy I'm thinking of. Did he go to Wisconsin?
Yes, but he was later. I think he was later than Jonathan Taylor was. I think he came out.
You should have put this Hall of Fame thing on Jonathan Taylor.
Not much fun.
Oh no! Wait. Am I wrong?
Monty Ball was drafted in 2013, right?
Yeah, I'm wrong. I'm very wrong about that. Yeah.
I was gonna say he was such a beast in college and like a demigod in the NCAA games.
Yeah,
like I thought he was going to be like a bell cow back, and that didn't happen.
Well, yeah, he like 2 years of nearly 2,000 yards in college in his junior and senior year, and then went to Denver. I think he got signed with Tebow, so he was never really good.
He had 55 rushing touchdowns in his last 2 years of college. How did he fail in the pros, bro?
Because he went and played on the same team as Tebow. Bad system.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I will say this. The high school me would have been all gas, no brakes on Monty Ball's NFL career. That's a transition in the business, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our all gas, no brakes segment for the third week in a row where one of the three of us goes across the NFL. And we take the spiciest, juiciest takes possible. And we have some fun with them and giving them. And the other two of us, and also the person presenting it, will give a quick opinion on, are we going to go, all gas on this and no brakes and we're fully with this idea? Or are we going to pump the brakes? We got to slow it down. This is our version of Overreaction Monday, except we're doing this on a Tuesday. Sometimes we'll have to do this on a Wednesday.
You can't do it on Monday if there's still a game going.
Exactly. So, Justin, the council, the higher powers of the podcast have chosen you this week.
All right.
Have at it.
All right. So does it matter what order I go in? Because I feel like we were talking about the Colts, and I have one for the Colts here.
I was going to say, like, it was presented, it was put in the order by our graphics people, but if you want to go, like, very much, you can bring it up first if you want.
Graphics people. Let's go with the Colts one first. And all gas or no breaks. The Colts are a real contender in the AFC.
The 3 is for them being 3-0, actually. Fun fact.
Yes.
In the ticker.
So they are currently 3-0. Danny Dimes having an excellent season. Are the Colts for real? Jonathan Taylor having an excellent season.
I was going to say
3 touchdowns last week alone.
I was going to say Shane Steichen is building up a very strong early Coach of the Year case because I think is even doing better than what Dayball did a few years ago with Jones of hiding him like limiting the amount of deep balls he has to throw, and like helping Daniel Jones like crush it in the short and intermediate throws. Where I will give Daniel Jones credit to this, he has always been a good short and intermediate like thrower of the football. It's just when you got to start hitting the deep shots, that's where the problems begin.
So I will give one grain of salt here. They have played Miami and Tennessee in this run, both teams that are winless still currently. But statistically, they look like, they're beating up on these teams. It's really not close. The one close game was against a playoff team last year, although that team is 1-2 now by virtue of their loss to the Colts. They did have a harder schedule, though. So,
and also it is worth noting that the Colts were a penalty at the end of that game from being 2-1.
Mm-hmm. But it was a good game. So, gentlemen, all gas or no brakes. The Colts are for real.
I'm going to pump the brakes on this one. Even though we call it all gas, no brakes, we technically have to have the pump the brakes option. I'm going to say pump the brakes on it a little bit because I think, I'm not saying it's the exact same thing as that thing, but I remember during the season a couple years ago with that Miracle Giants run, I was saying this the entire time I was beating this drum on the podcast. Like, look, you're beating up teams that you should be beating, which I give them credit. They are doing that. And they won one of those like 50-50 games. Like this is an incredible like early season boost for their playoff odds. They have a solid defense. I do like Jonathan Taylor, but I just don't know if this is going to be a sustainable way. Like come the postseason, you can hide a quarterback in the regular season, but I think nearly every single quarterback that you try to hide eventually gets like in the modern era. Blake Bortles, ironically Daniel Jones a couple of years ago, Kirk Cousins. These guys who aren't the top of the league, and you're able to limit the mistakes in the regular season, someone eventually exposes them in the playoffs. And it typically happens before the Super Bowl, sometimes before the conference title game. So I'm going to say pump the brakes for now. If Daniel Jones just truly does become a prime Peyton Manning, then we can have a different conversation in like 3 weeks' time.
We will also get a real test when they play the Rams this week.
Very true.
Yeah, that Rams defense, man. We talk about that Rams defense constantly over and over again, but that's a good defense. I'm with Jerg on this one. The brakes are being hit, and that brake light's going on in the car a little bit. Not really because of the offense per se, because right now the offense is trending in a very good direction. They are outgaining these opponents by about a 180-yard margin, average-wise, so they're doing well on offense. The defense just
only punted once so far this year.
Yeah, I mean the defense to me, they're good at creating turnovers, but you can't be sustainable at that if you're trying to be ball hawks and trying to take the ball away constantly. They're middle of the road in sacks. I think they're not super strong when it comes to other parts of their game, I want to say. I feel like, they're like fringe top 10 in yards allowed right now, so their defense is fine, but like there's not a lot of heavy hitters on that offense. Right now their leading tackler is a safety. Like I expect more from the linebackers and from the front four than to have Nick Cross be your leading tackler. He's a good safety, don't get me wrong. Love him. Drafted him. Thought it was great. But
well, the argument against that would be teams are always playing from behind with them. So they have to throw the ball.
True. Again, this is where we're going to see the test, though, because the Denver game kind of proved that they're a little shaky when it comes to facing a good team. The only reason why the Titans scored 20 is because they, pun intended, let up on the gas a little bit at the end of the game. And the Dolphins are just terrible. So it's one of those things where it's just, let's wait for a real test. We have one coming up. And let's see. Who would have thought that a big-time matchup, though, in the year 2025 would be watching Daniel Jones quarterback a team against a Matt Stafford-led team? Not all the money in the world I would have put up on it. So, but I do say just tap the brakes a little bit for this one.
In the year of our Lord, to say the least.
Right, the year of our Lord, 5736, 5786. What's the calendar say, Justin?
I'm not a doctor. Anyways, we can go back to the to help the graphics people out. Let's go to question number 1, according to the way I did it. the Giants officially announced Jackson Dart as their starting quarterback moving forward. Guys, Jackson Dart is ready to captain this Giants team. All gas or pump the brakes.
The Giants move on it. Are we saying he's ready to go, or are we saying they moved on?
Is Jackson Dart ready to go, or did they get there?
No, hell no, he's not ready to go.
So okay, another way to phrase this is should Russell Wilson be the starting quarterback still for the New York Giants?
No.
Well, still no. Famous Jameis all the way, baby.
100%. Now, I do kind of understand this mentality because this is the opposite of what they did years ago when the Giants benched Eli, and instead of putting in Davis Webb, they decided to hand the reins over to Seahawks and Raiders Ring of Honor candidate Geno Smith.
Yeah.
So
that Raiders one is kind of up in the air right now.
Yeah, it's a bit iffy. So I do kind of understand the mindset of wanting to go to the quarterback, especially considering the fact that he hasn't really done anything wrong to say that you could drop him in the depth chart. So, you make him the emergency quarterback, you put up James Winston, it's like he's regressing on way, but he's not really doing that. But the kid hasn't attempted a pass.
Well, this is why I was also like, why did they sign 2 veterans? Like, we always knew that if they were benching one, they were going right to the kid, right?
Well,
this is exactly what happened to Jameis last year.
But again, it's not so much why did they sign 2? Why did they sign Russell Wilson when they had James Winston in the pocket already?
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of those things where, like, yeah, you're jumping the gun. I think the ghosts have come out from the fact that final drive in the Chiefs game was so abhorrently awful.
Well, the final drive in the Cowboys game was also awful.
Yeah, I mean that's when we saw some problems there, but I think the fact that we saw 4 plays in a row of just blah. I mean, for God's sake, I was one of the intended receivers on one of the throws in the final drive of that game, but it's just way too soon. I mean, this Chargers defense, man, like you just got Andrew Thomas back, so that's a good thing. Don't get me wrong, but
it's not like he played all that great.
He's a lot better than James. Lot better than James Hudson. I can tell you that much.
Yeah,
he has to clear off the rust against one of the top defenses going in the league right now, putting in a rookie against one of the top defenses. I understand what the question is saying of like, are they moving to pick Jackson Dart too soon? And I think it is, all gas on that one. I think it's too soon. We've had this conversation before, and funny enough, Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow. I thought I screwed that up for a second. Like Herbert and Burrow, Herbert, Burrow, and even some other rookie QBs recently, like Jaden Daniels, I think is the most recent best example of it. Like they're changing the math on what people are expecting from rookie quarterbacks. I think trading back up to get Jackson Dart was the smart thing. But my idea of it is that starting in year 2 of his deal is where, or even at the very end of the season, like the last 2-3 games, that's when you give him the starts to start to do it. I think the reason for this, I think we all agree, and we all know this because this was the report after week 1 that Daboll allegedly went to Giants ownership with requesting permission to put in Dart immediately. Like he didn't even want to give Russ the week 2 Cowboys game. I think this is Rick. I was going the other way to an extent, like you were talking about what they did years ago with Eli. I was thinking what the Colts, like the opposite of what the Colts did this time, where between the young guy who they want to be the future of the franchise and the veterans that they have now, the Giants did the opposite. Like they were starting with the veteran option, whereas the Colts were hoping Anthony Richardson. Now the Colts are going to the veteran Daniel Jones. The Giants are immediately going to the young guy. Maybe there's a reason Daniel Jones is doing so much better away from the Giants all this time.
I was gonna say, the Giants in Daboll's first year, they won 9 games, went to a playoff, won a playoff game. Daboll's coach of the year, but sure, Jones and Barkley were a real problem, right?
Right. Yeah. Like ultimately, it should be James. And I know I'm not a Russell Wilson fan. I've made that abhorrently clear on this podcast, and I will continue to make that clear because he continues to prove me correct in recent years.
Yeah.
But like, if you're, if you're on a stony island going nowhere with no engine in the ship, might as well just let Russell Wilson captain it into the grave. Like, I think you're sending the kid out too early on this one. So we're all gassed with you, Justin.
All right. Now the next question is. We're going to go back to the AFC South for the rest of these. The Titans should fire Callahan as their head coach.
They shouldn't have even hired him in the first place. This is an all gas. I don't even know the answer to the question. All gas.
So, well, the argument is that they fired their GM in the offseason, and because he was only a one-year head coach, they gave him another shot. There was a rough sequence in the game to end the first half where they didn't know what they wanted to do. They weren't sure if they were going to kick the ball. They ended up getting a delay of game on the coach's decision, and then missed a 62-yard field goal, allowing the Colts to get 3 points the other way with 30 seconds left or something like that because they had such great field position. So 6-point swing at the end of the first half, which in a game ended up being a blowout anyways. But now officially as of today, Callahan has given up play calling duty to their quarterbacks coach. They got a rookie quarterback there. Clearly, they seem to be wasting his season, according to some people. We got Rick's answer. Jerk, are you firing Callahan?
The only reason that like 5% of me wants to hold back on this, like maybe I'm not, 100% all gas, but I'm basically 95%. So I will say all gas on just the concept of it. The only thing that I'm somewhat worried about is like, do we think that firing Callahan will hamper Cam Ward's production and progression?
It's the Titans. What does it matter?
I just want to confirm this because from the clips I've seen, I know it's statistically not the best right now, but I think Cam Ward has shown some flashes of good here and there. And I just want to make sure that whatever choice gets made is helping him progress. If we think getting rid of Callahan is going to help do that, 100%, because I'm going to pick Cam Ward over. Because you said it yourself, Justin. The guy that brought in Callahan got axed. Like, this is essentially just a stay of execution.
Should not have had the opportunity to bring him in.
Sure. He ceded play calling to the guy who took over as interim OC of the Raiders when Josh McDaniels got fired. He literally gave up the plays to a guy who had Aiden O'Connell as a starting quarterback.
Well, to be fair,
he looked at the offensive coordinator.
Way better once he started taking over play.
I was going to say, like,
he looked at the offensive coordinator and said, "You're no good. I want the quarterback's coach instead."
Which really says something about his ability to pick a staff if he's skipping the OC to the quarterback coach.
A guy who was an OC with Joe Burrow doesn't know how to lead the rest of the team. And again, Trey Hendrickson was the real problem in Cincinnati, right? Yeah, okay, great.
I think it says a lot about the Bengals that their offensive genius leaves and their quarterback and wide receiver one have like the greatest statistical season possible of all time. Like, you had the league leader in passing yards, and did Burrow lead in touchdowns outright last year? He did.
He might have, yeah.
And then Jamar Chase got the Triple Crown after the quote-unquote offensive wunderkind of your staff leaves.
Well,
can I give an opinion? Can I give a quick opinion? If
a
coordinator leaves and the team does better in that respective side of the ball when that guy leaves, I don't think that guy was as good at his job as we think he was.
You've got a real chance for a toilet bowl coming up in December, boys. Texans Saints.
So yes, come on now. That is Tank Bowl extraordinaire. I'm tuning into that one.
Oh yeah.
Yes, I'm all gas on this one. Just get him out of here.
All right. So pretty unanimous so far. Here's the next one. And again, we're going to end with the AFC South. We're going to ignore the Jaguars here, even though there are some nice hard-hitting questions we can think of.
Which is the right thing to do.
The Houston Texans need a full roster reset. Now, obviously, I don't think that would include a guy like C.J. Stroud, but they are now 0-3. Statistically, they look rough. It doesn't look like they were in most of these games. I know that they were playing from behind, I believe, in all three. They went from having too many receivers last year to having some receiving issues, some offensive line issues, some defense issues. Do they need a reset?
I think the first question you need to ask is how confident are you in Nick Caserio and him helping out this roster now? Because while on one end of the spectrum, you could look at him at the guy that, let's be honest, this is sort of luck that they were able to get C.J. Stroud to begin with, because to this day, you will never be able to convince me that C.J. Stroud was going to be a Carolina Panther before Dave Tepper said no. So it was kind of luck that they ended up getting Stroud in the first place. And since then, they've just kind of it's been good and bad. Like they bring in a Daniil Hunter, cool. They draft a Will Anderson, top of the draft, when you're making like the trades with the picks, cool. But now you're in a situation where this young quarterback who it's being pointed out, like the first, whatever the numbers are, and like the first, 15, 16 games of his career, he only threw 5 interceptions. And in the last 17, he's thrown about 3 times as many. The offensive line, which already took a step back from year 1 to year 2, has even taken a bigger step back, and that's after you tried to change it. Like, I'm not disagreeing with the statement of that you need a full roster reset. I'm just questioning if you maybe need to reset the guy that's making the roster decisions as well as part of that reset, because like this is where I need a diehard Texans fan to tell me that like knows this from like the back of their hand. Like, is Nick Caserio doing a good enough job? Because I think from a wide receiver perspective, I think he's completely depleted the weapons that freaking Stroud could throw to.
I think Texans fans aren't going to be available until after October's over because they're also Astros fans, so they're not really paying attention to this.
Well, that's a different type of torture because the Astros might miss the playoffs.
Facts. You know what the weird thing is about the Texans? Yeah, they look terrible in all 3 games, but they've not gotten blown out in any of them. You could argue that if they won, literally, I think they lost to the Rams by 5, the Bucks by 1, and the Jaguars by 7. So 1 extra score changes those games entirely.
Yeah, but didn't they play all 3? They very, very rarely led in all 3
Yes,
games.
I agree with you on that sense. Yeah, they didn't lead in any of these games, but defenses look pretty good. So I think it's an offensive reset, but I don't necessarily know if I think it needs to be blown up because, like, Nico Collins is still a very good wide receiver. He's becoming a WR1 for them. I just think they have no offensive line depth right now. I mean, the fact that Juice Scruggs, who they drafted last year, a couple of years ago, to be like a center, is your backup left guard behind 33-year-old Laken Tomlinson? That sounds like freaking the Jets with Morgan Moses instead of Fashanu. It doesn't sound right. Braxton Berrios hasn't seen the field at all, and I get it. He wasn't very good last year. Yeah, I mean, he's not listed as hurt now. So
I think last week was supposed to be his first week back, but I don't remember if he played or not.
No, he hasn't played. So get him in the rotation. Get him some reps.
So is Christian Kirk.
Yeah, Christian Kirk. I don't necessarily think it needs a full roster reset. I think the defense is good. They are missing Danico Autry, but they have a lot of other weapons that are there that they need to lean on. I see this game as a get-right game for them because I feel like they can feast on the Titans, and I think that will quell some of the early jitters. And look, yeah, they're in an 0-3 hole to start off the season. But again, the division's still right there for the taking if you think about it. They're only 0-1 in the division. So you don't know how Daniel Jones is gonna continue to perform. You can get a win back on the Jaguars, and if you knock out the Titans in both, you have a chance to go 4-2, 5-1 in the division. And what do we know about the AFC South? That might be all it takes. 6-7 wins might be all it takes to win this division. That's how bad this division is, boys.
Yeah, the Texans, like Rick has said, the Texans have talent. I just think there's, it's so tough because I think the defensive side of the ball for the most part, like they've done their job. Like it's strictly the offensive line, and if they just had one more receiving threat next to Nico Collins, like it's not a full roster reset. It's more of a if you could like snap your fingers and magically fix the problems type deal. So
yeah.
I'm going to say pump the brakes on the wording of full roster reset, but if this was should they be aggressive in changing the roster, then I'm all gas on that end. I think they should be looking at ways to improve this roster right now. Because I don't think you can just bank on the AFC South being bad enough to you to win it outright this year. And I'm not saying that because the Jags and Colts are absolute like ballers. It's just like an 0-3 hole is not something easy to come back out of.
Agreed. I tell you what, too. Thank God that the Giants made the move to start a different quarterback because I could see Nick Neighbors asking for a trade if it was Russell Wilson again. Stop throwing me jump balls, man.
Well, I will say I believe they have a lot of their money tied up in the offensive line and the defensive line, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. That Titus Howard signing is looking worse and worse by the day.
Well,
But
Danielle
again-
Hunter had a lot of production there. I don't remember seeing his name a ton, and I know he's getting paid a lot too.
Yeah. That was a swing for the fences move last year because they were all in. You know? So it's tricky.
So, that being said, fantastic edition of All Gas No Breaks, Justin. Got some good conversation for us to begin with, and I mean, I think we've already hit a lot of what was in the title of this, but Houston, you got a problem right now for your team. NFL Week 3 highlights: the Houston Texans end up falling in Jacksonville, breaking poor Rick's prediction of what they were going to do and keep that Jacksonville winning streak going. We'll get to our struggles as a group in the pick challenge here in a little bit. I don't think anyone had a good week, to say the very
We had
least.
a great week last week.
Yeah, it's not pretty this week.
But the Texans end up falling to the Jags. They start 0-3. Just the offense can't get it going against the defensive unit in Jacksonville. That's not even that much of a game breaker. Like the Jags are not a top 10 defense, but it just goes to show like the state of the Texans offense. And they thought that changing the OC from last year this year was going to be the way, because this is a new offensive coordinator, if I'm not mistaken, and it's not necessarily working out so far, to say the very least. So, I mean, we literally just had it as a topic. Is there any more deliberation we want to bring on the Texans and their offensive woes before we move on?
I'm not the Texans, but I do want to put out a thought. I don't think Trevor Lawrence is a top 10 or top 15 quarterback in this league right now. He does not look right. I mean, he's completing 50% of his passes right now. You'd say the QBR.
55.8%.
Yeah. His QBR is among the worst of starting quarterbacks right now. And I get it. Yeah, Brian Thomas is hurt, and I understand that you have not really a whole lot of other people that are there. Like if you're relying on Parker Washington and Tim Patrick, fine. But you've got Travis Hunter. You're not really using him. What? I don't understand what's going on in Jacksonville at all. They're 2-1 by the skin of their teeth, but it's not a good 2-1 for them. To be honest with you, I'm a little troubled by Liam Cohen's offense here. That's really just, to me, hasn't looked good at all. Like, and again, you're getting wins. You're beating the Carolina team that it's Carolina. I mean, but a broken clock, is right twice a day, right? That's Carolina basically, and then you're beating this Jackson. You're beating this Houston team, and you lost to Cincinnati when Joe Burrow got hurt and Jake Browning led them to a win, even though your defense picked them off 2 or 3 times, and then Lawrence couldn't do the job. I'm concerned with Jacksonville.
That's more than fair. And there's our Bengals mention for the week because they got slaughtered.
We ain't mentioning them again.
Yeah,
another team that screwed me in the pick challenge.
Yeah, it's I don't see us really looking to pick the Bengals here going forward, to say the least.
I'm bitter.
We're all bitter in some way, shape, or form. Other 0-3 teams we mentioned, the Titans fire Callahan. Get Cam Ward a guy, get him a better head coach next season for his sake. The Bengals got slaughtered. The Dolphins fall to 0-3. Maybe Mike McDaniel will be the next Titans head coach with how things are going for him. Although actually, technically speaking, like if the Titans follow suit in what I think we properly predicted this, mainly me, I was beating the drum of, they're the type of team that's going to go for the opposite of the guy they just fired. So the opposite of Mike Vrabel is Callahan. So the opposite of Callahan would
Robert Saleh,
Brian Flores maybe gets head coaching job again.
Maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Early conversations there. The Dolphins are probably going to be looking for a new head coach as well, and a new quarterback, and a new wide receiver 1, probably a new wide receiver 2, maybe a new tight end,
and a new owner, and a new stadium, and a new state,
and a new city.
Yep.
Yeah.
And a new mascot.
And a new Grand Prix, because there should be a Grand Prix in Miami. Anyways, 31-21 victory for the Buffalo Bills over the Miami Dolphins on Thursday night. It wasn't anything like – this is one of those weird ones where it's like it was a close game on paper. I mean, the Dolphins tied it up early in the fourth quarter, but like I don't know. Rick had mentioned it being a trap game. I think if this was in Miami, I think it would have been a trap game. But I just ain't nobody had any thoughts whatsoever that like the Dolphins were actually going to pull off this upset, even when it was close. I did not foresee a random Dolphins upset win over the Bills in Buffalo early this season. I just didn't. And the Bills, like, aside from week one, kind of given a discount because the Jets were week two, like, the Bills are just winning games right now. Like, they're just doing what good teams have to do, and that's get wins. Like, I'll give them credit. That comeback win is really, like, the hallmark of their season so far. Pretty good hallmark, to say the very least. The Steelers beat the Patriots, boys, 21-14. We kind of accidentally ignored the Patriots game for the most part last week, so I want to give at least, some mention of that.
They're mentioned. Let's move on.
They, late attempt by them to try to get back into this. They tied the game early in the fourth quarter. Hunter Henry has quickly become Drake May's favorite target, to say the very least. But just the Steelers' defense made the right decisions, and Aaron Rodgers, damage limitation this week, all things considered, is a lot more careful with football. Only one interception, 2 touchdowns, very careful, like, passing. It wasn't a signature game by any stretch of the imagination. This was just like a squeeze you out, grind it out kind of game. And these are the kinds of games that the Steelers are probably going to end up winning. They ended up getting to Drake May 5 times in this one. Cam Hayward had a sack. TJ Watt had 2 sacks. It's a pretty good game, to say the very least, for the Steelers defense. Probably this was their best defensive game of the season, right?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah. So speaking of defensive games, who here had the Carolina Panthers pitching a shutout on defense this season? Not any of us. If the Falcons have another bad week, I think we're gonna need to raise up some questions. I think someone here is gonna have to bring up the Falcons in the next edition of All Gas No Breaks, because the Panthers getting a 30-0 win with Rick. You want to talk about running backs weren't that impressive? Bryce Young was not impressive. Like 121 passing yards. He didn't make critical mistakes. Like Penix threw 2 interceptions. Is this the ugliest 30-0 win ever?
Yeah. Yeah, it is. I mean, again, they essentially won this game 9-0 because Ryan Fitzgerald made 3 field goals. It's all they basically needed because, what were their touchdowns? A pick 6, rushing touchdowns from not Chuba Hubbard. If you had him in fantasy, not him. Rico Dowdle
had one of them, yeah, and Bryce Young had the other.
I was mad about that Rico Dowdle one.
I'm furious about it as well, but for a different reason. There's nothing really to say in this game. I mean, Atlanta is disappointing, as unfortunately we all kind of should have expected. They're disappointing. There's another team that went to Penix, I think, a little too early. They should have kept with Cousins because, at least you have some veteran experience. Penix did not look good.
I was going to say, it's tough. You almost have to consider the swap because Cousins was awful at that midway point last season.
I should have named this episode, Brother, Can You Spare a Backup Quarterback? Because this was just atrocious. And again,
I mean, we might still use that for next week.
And again, I mean, 30-0. You think to yourself, oh, good, the offense must have done really well. No, Bryce Young only threw for 120 yards, man. Like it doesn't. Again, I feel bad for guys like Ted McMillan, who's on this team, because he should be on a better team where he can get 100+ yards receiving in a game. He might not make 100+ yards receiving in a season, like Bryce Young is a quarterback. Ooh, McMillan's out this week?
I think he was out this week.
No, he played this past game.
Ted played this one.
Yeah.
Was Xavier out this week? One of them was out.
Leggett was out. Leggett was out this week. Yeah. Ted was in there. 3 catches for 48 yards. Real good use of your number 8 pick right there, because real good use of your number 1 pick from a couple of years ago. Right?
Yeah, it's not going well for them, and they're not the only team that you have to question the usage of their rookie first round pick on the skill position side of things, because Ashton Genty had 63 rushing yards, only 17 carries. All I've seen on Twitter so far and Instagram is, what is Chip Kelly doing with this offense? Like,
apparently Trey Tucker is the new favorite target, though.
Yeah, Trey Tucker, 8 catches for 145 yards. Brock Bowers, who Jacoby Myers doesn't exist. Zamir White, I mean, Zamir White's not all that much to begin with, but who knew when you have Ashton Genty and Brock Bowers that the way that you try to build your offense is Trey Tucker and Trey Tucker.
And you know what else is funny?
I mean, I will say, ironically, Geno Smith had the best quarterbacking game so far for himself in the season, and yet they still got smoked.
Yeah, you know what else is funny? That game, we saw McCaffrey score a touchdown. Not the one you're thinking of, though. His brother. Yeah.
Yep.
Good job, Luke. Way to go, kid.
Yep. Via passing touchdown via the man, the myth, the legend, Marcus Mariota. Everyone had that, to say the least.
Yep.
Yeah, just one of those ones where the Commanders. This was a big one. Like the Commanders, they came to play. They got the win. You know, you get a win like this when your starting quarterback has to miss the game. Confidence in that team. You know, just all around rushing performance. They ran no one had a standout game, but they just ran all over the Raiders. They had 201 rushing yards as a team. So, can you imagine if this team had a number one running back? Like an actual, I'm not saying like one of the best in the league. I'm talking about more of just like a in-house, like one of those guys is a definitive number one. Like I think all these guys are just going to end up getting like spot carries and spot starts throughout the season. Like they don't have a definitive like bell cow back in that running back room right now.
This is Washington's time to figure things out, and part of that is going to be, why is he called Bill? Yeah, why is he called Bill? How do you get Bill from Jacory? I don't understand these things. Man.
Hey man, Rick, the complications of names in today's world. Oh lordy. That's something to say at least. A trio of early games. I was gonna say, Justin, I'll throw this to you.
Yep.
Browns Packers was looking to be a game that maybe was going to head to overtime, but the Cleveland Browns with a late blocked kick against the Green Bay Packers, who after me praising them as a power in the NFC a week ago, drop a game 13-10 to the Cleveland Browns off of a game-winning field goal for Cleveland, which doesn't happen all that often.
They scored all 13 points late in the fourth quarter, right?
Yeah. Shout out. Clutch time, baby.
Yeah, that was a real clutch time game.
That was one of them. Then Rams Eagles. The Rams were up 26-7. I was so close. And a blocked field goal at the very end, leading to a scoop and score touchdown. They could have just like sat on the kickball after, but they run it in to bring up the score a little bit more. 33-26 comeback victory for the Eagles over the Rams. Block kick helping, and then in one of the wildest and most Jets sequences possible to ever happen,
Jets did the same thing and lost.
The New York Jets, I was going to say, late in the game with just under 2 minutes to go, blocked a kick, recovered by Will McDonald before for a tutty, 27-26, and then Baker Mayfield said, "Okay, I'm just gonna score. We're just gonna get in the field goal position. We're gonna win." Baker Mayfield, he's led a good offensive possessions and clutch drives against the Jets before, and he did it again. So, I mean, hey, Tyrod Taylor didn't have a dog awful game. Right? I wish I had a cricket sound effect to play right here, to say the least. So, guys, trio of block kicks there. What did you make of? I mean, look, the 1 o'clock hour was our kind of hour for the show. We have chaos in the name. That was a chaotic 1 o'clock hour.
I got no comment on the Jet game. You guys know how I feel about it. The Rams Eagles was a wild one, especially after the Rams went up heavy at halftime. Well, they up 14, 15 points at some point. So that was a crazy one, especially with them angling to win the game and then all of a sudden losing by 7 points because they didn't take the extra point. And that's also how the Eagles covered, by the way. A block that would have gone down, they still would have won by 1, but wouldn't have covered the spread. Jordan Davis running that back, also being the heaviest player to ever return a kick, was a wild ending. So kudos to them, and also the difference between being 2-1 and 3-0 for the Eagles. And I will say, we didn't expect a comeback like that, but we did expect that to be a better game. And a lot of people did pick the Eagles to win. I don't think anyone picked the Browns to beat the Green Bay Packers. They had trouble on offense all day. That Browns defense looked like they knew exactly what they were going to do almost at all times. And a very, very timely turnover from Jordan Love really gave that game away.
Yeah, you didn't expect anybody to pick the Browns to beat the Packers. I sure as heck did, because that was my 4-point game. I lost that one. Where was Jordan Love throwing that ball to? Did he think that Desmond Howard was there, or Mark Chmura, or somebody from the Packers Super Bowl champions of bygone years?
Jordy Nelson, Donald Driver,
Andrew Corliss, even somebody, Dorsey Levens, Eddie Lacy,
Richard
Rodgers, anybody?
Jeff Janis.
No. Jeff Janis? No. Grant Delpit?
Well, Grant Delpit was there.
He was there. He was there. And
the wrong kind of Grant. He was looking for Ryan Grant, but he found it.
Oh my God! And kudos to him for getting tackled at the 1 to allow Judkins to get his first career rushing touchdown. Because a lesser man would have taken that in for his own touchdown, and wouldn't have even given that a second thought. But
it's a good teammate right there. High quality teammate right there.
So the only thing that I'm going to bring up with regards to the Jets, which I think needs to be mentioned here and needs to be discussed, is that on a day when they honestly should have dominated the line of scrimmage, considering no Kalijah Cansey for Tampa, and Vita Vea, who's fine, but that was really it. They only have 99 yards on the ground, 23 carries. And it's not even Braylon Allen leading, although that 4th down play, you could tell from a mile away that was going to be stopped. Breece Hall was a non-factor, basically. I don't know what this Jets offense is right now. I don't even know if the Jets know what it is. All this talk about, Aaron Glenn brought over Tanner Engstrand, this offensive wonderkin from the Lions and everything. And I'm sitting there watching this game, and I'm thinking to myself, this offense doesn't look any different from years gone by when it was Chan Gailey running it, or Tony Sperano running it, or Marty Morningweg, or Adam Gase claiming to run it, even though he didn't run anything, basically. What is it? What are we doing? And now, the news today that Quincy Williams is going on IR. That's a heart and soul guy you're losing on the defense in the linebacking room. So yeah, it's not spectacular.
I was going to say, while Rick gives his quick report on the Jets there, Justin, let me give a little bit more on this team before we move on. What did you make of Micah Parsons said it after the Week 2 win that if, Jordan Love and the Packers offense just give him a couple points, anywhere from 17 to 21 or 24, whatever his exact quote was, they'll be fine. They didn't hit 17 this week, and that would have been the number to help. I think we could all agree that wasn't the defense's game. That was not their fault. That was the offense just not producing it.
Playing special teams there a little bit too, but
and special teams, yeah. But ultimately, this Packers offense, 3 weeks in, I think they're better on paper than what they've been performing at. This is not the level that we thought. That was Jordan Love's first interception of the season, but you wouldn't think of it because it just feels like the offense at times has kind of been there have been missed chances there. They could be a lot better right now than what they seem. And we're saying this about a 2-1 football team.
I mean, it's definitely troubling. I mean, the offensive line did not look good. They were after Jordan Love, who was either running for his life or on his butt. You got to think that they're going to correct something like that, but I got news for you. The way that the Browns played them, people are going to turn around and say, okay, we can keep Jordan Love on his ass. We can beat this football team, and that's really the situation now that the Browns have exposed them this way. So it was a rough loss. I think it's going to be rough going forward because teams are not going to respect their pass so much if they know they can get to the quarterback. He's going to have to find a way to beat them and beat teams quick. I'm sure it's something that they're going to work on in practice this week. But who did they play this week?
Green Bay?
Yeah.
They're going to Dallas.
I just saw, there it is.
Oh, yeah. In Dallas, right?
Yep. The Micah Parsons homecoming
returned,
game.
Right? Yeah. It has to be how it feels, how it's going to feel
Dude,
sack cat.
if Micah puts up like 2.5 sacks and an interception, I don't care what the rest of the season looks like. You know the voters are just going to de facto give him Defensive Player of the Year just for this game if he balls out.
I was going to say the only saving grace, if you believe in that stuff, is that the fact that the Packers lost going into the Dallas game, probably better than them being 3-0 going into it, because they lay an egg on national television in Dallas with Parsons returning home. Not great, but the fact that there's that motivation to get that win back after they were embarrassed in the embarrassing city of Cleveland.
Yep.
Yeah. I Joe Milton, get ready. You're going to be in like the first half, and this is going to be a nightmare for Dak Prescott.
Matt Eberflus, good luck, because
that's right.
The greatest game of Caleb Williams' career comes against his former head coach in Matt Eberflus. Like, just the Bears torch. Come on, 4 touchdowns, I think. Like, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions.
Pretty good completion percentage.
Yeah.
Like, just Luther Burden through career day. Like, just everything that could go wrong went wrong. 2 interceptions by Rain Dakota Prescott. Like, it was not a good day for the Cowboys. First career win for Ben Johnson. Gets the monkey off his back. They finally get a win. How much will that mean? Don't know, but they got the first one. That's all that matters. The Seahawks bullied the Saints.
Surprising.
That was just mean.
Yeah.
It was just mean. Tyler Shuck randomly got in for 2 passes.
Oh.
That was about
Cool.
it. I mean,
Cool.
I don't think they were never going to win that game. I don't think that was a bad enough performance where Spencer Rattler's been fine. He hasn't been crazy, but he's not I don't think he should be benched. Like he's not the reason they're starting 0-3. The rest of that team is just not good. The 2 closer games of that time window, Chargers Broncos, gritty, close AFC West matchup. The Chargers just make enough of the right plays to win. And similar thing, NFC West, the Cardinals Niners, tough, gritty game, but it ends up being that the Niners get wins. Either of you want to take it first? Like, what do you make of the close divisional wins for these squads, especially for both the Niners and the Chargers? Divisional wins. Now the Niners are 2-0 in the division right now, and the Chargers are also 2-0 in the division. So these two teams that, I don't think between the 3 of us, I don't think any of us had the Chargers as winning the division, nor the Niners. These 2 teams that were kind of underdogs to win their division coming into the season now have the best amount of leverage 3 games in.
I think Justin believed in the Niners more than any of us else did, I believe.
I just thought they had an easy schedule, man.
Yeah.
Well, I had them as a wild card team. I didn't have them winning the division, but I did have them as my 7th seed.
Jennings is still out for them, right?
I don't know. I know that they said Purdy might play.
I mean, McCorkle Jones is doing just fine for Shanahan.
Yeah. It's still early for both of these teams. Obviously, the Chargers have to get over the hump of underperforming, and the Niners have to try and escape without anybody else getting injured. But it's surprising, but so far so good for these teams. The Niners have the inside track now to host the Super Bowl. It's in Santa Clara. Good for you.
Indeed, they do, to say the very least. And the Niners are taking on Jacksonville this next week, while the LA Chargers are taking on the Giants in the Meadowlands. So that's interesting to say.
Yeah.
Chargers got to give them credit. A 4th quarter comeback against a strong Denver defense. Justin Herbert, I think one thing, and I got to give credit to Jim Harbaugh and that coaching staff this season. Last season they were very much committed to, we're a rushing team first. We're going to let the rushing game, and even with the great rushing, Herbert, he was good. He was really fine, but there weren't too many of these moments last year where it was him making the difference. It felt like, even though we know he can, it feels like early this season, we've seen this Chargers offense. Of course, they're still going to rely on the run, especially now. It looks like Omari and Hampton is going to have a massive opportunity here with the unfortunate injury to Najee Harris. But even with their propensity to still want to run the football, Justin Herbert is showing the flashes and signs of himself again, of the guy we were used to seeing for the first couple of years of his career, that dynamic passer, which he still always has been. I'm not saying he lost it last year, but if Jim Harbaugh can really let Herbert have more possessions and plays like this, where he's showing off the flashes of the guy who can go let's be real here. Let's keep it a buck. Like, we've spent so much of the episode, like, we praised Lamar and Allen, shout out Joe Burrow, and we know Mahomes is Mahomes. Like, Justin Herbert is one of the few quarterbacks in this league that can actually go throw to throw with those guys because he has the arm talent to do that. And it looks like the Chargers are slowly putting something together there. And look, again, Justin's guy, another phenomenal game for his standards of Quentin Johnson, six receptions, 89 yards. Like, he's having a good stretch of games here. Keenan Allen with the big fourth quarter touchdown. Like, the Chargers are legit.
The Chargers look good. And listen, if the Ravens can take care of business, the Chargers have a real inside track into winning this division. So that's going to be an interesting outcome after this week.
Yep.
Excuse me. The 49ers also, I think it's the Rams division to lose probably, but it's not like they have an easy schedule against a team like Indianapolis, who's actually played pretty well down the stretch. Obviously, I'm going to probably take the Rams there if I had to pick, but this year, would you really be surprised if the Colts really went in there and started playing at least close to what the Rams can do, especially offensively? I mean, especially after last week. The Rams weren't lighting the world on fire in the first 2 weeks offensively, and then all of a sudden they had a great first half and completely fumbled it the second half against the Eagles. So we'll see, but this is going to be a very interesting week in terms of playoff starts and seeding and things like that.
Because especially for the Cardinals, like, they're the Thursday night game, them and the Seahawks. Like, the Cardinals, Rick's preseason darling, like, they had a chance here. If they start out 3-0 with the Rams dropping this game against the Eagles, early division win with the chance to get another one against the Seahawks, like, this was a tide-turning week for the Cardinals. Like, this is one of those you're going to regret this game as the season goes on for you.
Yeah. I think they'll be fine, though. I mean, there's still a lot on both sides of the ball to be happy with. And, it just shows the competitive nature of this division that all four teams are above 500 right now. You have the Niners 3-0 and everyone else is 2-1. It's just going to show it's not going to be easy the rest of the way. So these division games do get more and more critical, but I think the Cardinals will be just fine.
I gotta give the NFL a little bit of credit here, boys, to where like a decent amount of these division games early kind of heighten the urgency. Where it's like you can fall into a hole pretty early, or you could get a nice leg up here relatively early if you are taking the start of the season seriously. And that's kind of what we wanted this entire time. Like, we want teams to try to do what they can to start the gates hot, at the very least. Speaking of, neither of these two teams that played Sunday night started out the season. They both ended 0-2. So someone had to lose in theory, and it was unfortunately the Giants. The Kansas City Chiefs defense, this is the kind of defensive performance like we've seen from them the last couple of years, where it's just like they're going to strangle the other team, put pressure on the Giants the entire time. Chris Jones and Karlaftis got in there for sacks. They're just like nothing going for the Giants in any way, shape, or form. Like, Russell Wilson barely above 50% completion percentage, 2 interceptions. I mean, Def Taxes and Cam Scatabo is just rushing into every single defender on his runs. Dude is a top 5 entertaining running back to watch, just because you love to see him launch his body into the defense. But they're going to need a lot more than just Cam Scatabo to carry the job, because he had 100 yards from scrimmage. Yeah, he had over. You got to give the guy credit. It's just a rough performance, which, as we alluded to earlier, is now going to be the cause for Jackson Dart now getting early call in his career to be the guy, at the very least, which will be tough. And two teams that dropped their week 1 games, both of them bounced back with massive offensive efforts in week 2. Lions, Ravens. At that point, before the game, Lamar was 2-0 against the Lions in his career and had a fantastic winning record against the NFC. And that was probably about to change, and it did. 7 sacks the Lions were able to get on the Ravens. And Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery ran all over the Ravens, to say the very least, and what typically tends to be a pretty stout Ravens defense on paper. 224. Let me take away Jared Goff's 6 rushing yards real quick. Between the two Detroit running backs, 218 rushing yards and 4 touchdowns. My God. Amon-Ra St. Brown had a pretty good game. Laporta and Williams made a catch here and there. But this was about the absolute dominance of the ground game by the Detroit Lions against this Ravens defense. Ran all over them, to say the very least.
I think that's the Lions' MO this season, is that if they can get that running attack potent, they're going to be unstoppable. I think it took Montgomery a couple weeks to get into gear. Gibbs has been on fire, but Montgomery had a really good game, and that's important for them. I feel like if they can use that two back, those bell cow back system, it opens things up a lot more for them, and it gives Goff a little more time to find Laporta and find Isaac Tisla and all these other guys that are like secondary and tertiary weapons, because Montgomery and Gibbs are the real stars of this show, and when they are able to run, it doesn't really matter who's in the box lineup against them. They are going to be driven backwards in a real big way. And again, Gibbs is good, man. Gibbs is really, really good. And so Detroit's showing they're dangerous, and the fact that Green Bay's not unbeaten, and the fact that it's still a pretty competitive division, Detroit's got to feel pretty good, even though they lost that first week. They got to feel pretty good about where they are, I'd say.
Yeah, to say the least. Justin, of course, each game is its own sample, but after that first game against the Packers, there were some early alarm bells in Detroit. Like, the offense did not look great, did not look smooth at all. The defense kind of got, more precision-based picking apart by the Packers in that first week. Still to this point, the best the Packers offense has looked so far. But, in this game, like Rick said, like the Lions kind of played the game that they wanted to, and they were eventually able to break it open with these great designed run plays. And even though on paper they let up 30 points, like the Lions defense in critical moments, coming up with some third down stops, the forced fumble on Derrick Henry was one of the best highlight defensive plays of the season. I'm not going to say it's necessarily been solved, but after 2 back-to-back weeks with wins, and especially this big statement win against one of the top teams in the AFC, how confident, Justin, do you think Lions fans should be that their team is starting to re-put everything together on both sides of the ball here?
I don't think there was ever a point where they shouldn't have been confident. Let's say things are what they are, and we thought that the Packers were going to have a very good defense. I think they've proven that against pretty much every team that they've played so far. It's unfortunately the offense that has gotten in the way of this one game. So there's nothing. I think we were never super worried about a week 1 loss for a team like the Lions. Sure, we expected more, but worried is not the right answer. So I would say very little.
To say the least.
I would be more worried about the Ravens at this point.
I was going to say, let's look.
Schedule coming up the next 3 weeks before their bye, where they got to play the Chiefs, and then 2 weeks later they have to play the Rams. I think they got an easier one in between, if I'm not mistaken. The Texans, who really might not be such an easy game. We might just see them kind of sleeping at this point. So I think it's important that they get at least a couple quality wins in this, because going into your bye at 2-3 as opposed to 3-2 is a big thing, especially with the 5 games they have coming out of the bye.
Yeah, I was going to say, like the losers lament. Like, what do you guys make of things from the Ravens side? Like, look, Lamar had, again, some of it was garbage time, but didn't throw an interception, decent yardage. Derrick Henry, on the few times he had some running room, he did, but it just it's one of those great stats on paper, but if you really watch the game, the Ravens offense was not a typical Ravens game, especially in the second half. The Lions defense really clamped down in the second half. What do you think of that game from the Ravens' perspective of things, Rick?
Well, this is a really bad game for the Ravens O-line. You can't allow a defense to get to your quarterback and sack him 7 times in the game and expect to have anything more significant done. I think he got hit 7 times. He was sacked 7 times. The defense just drew up a great game plan. They really did. They got to the backfield nice and easy, and guys like Roger Rosengarten couldn't handle the pressure. You got to step up in those moments. Again, part of what makes a good team great is the ability to give their quarterback time in the pocket and protection. And again, one of the things that we know that I've noticed with Lamar Jackson is that if he has 2 to 4 seconds in the pocket to make a throw, he's great. But the minute he starts dancing around in the pocket or taking his time and not finding an open receiver and deliberating what he should do and where he should order pizza from next week or whatever it is, whatever he's doing in the pocket, that's when the O-line collapses, and that's when you see those sacks come in. It's just they have to get on the same page, because otherwise you're going to have results like this where their offense is going to do enough to win, but not enough at the end to actually win the game, because it's just too many variables and too many things happening that they're not really controlling well. And again, it's going to be the death of them, because right now I believe they're tied with the Browns for last place in that division.
Technically, yeah, because right now the Steelers and Bengals are off to 2-1 starts, and now this is the second time in 3 weeks in this young season where the Ravens defense in just the second half ends up giving way. In the first game it was more to the all around, but it was especially the passing attack of the Bills that really founded their pockets. And then in this one, it just that Lions ground game, they eventually grounded and pounded. Jahmyr Gibbs and Montgomery just ripped off a couple runs in this one.
And I mean, it doesn't get any easier, right? The next 3 weeks, you have one cupcake game in the middle, but the games surrounding it, not easy.
Now here's the thing, Brandon. I feel like we've said this enough to the point where it's if you're a good team, obviously it's tough on paper, but if you're a good team, you should welcome the challenges that they're about to face. They should welcome the opportunity to turn their early season around, going into Arrowhead and beating up on a Kansas City team that's down right now.
Yeah.
The Ravens should be welcoming this chance to prove themselves in this one. I think internally some of them are. I think the Ravens are very much upset, to say the very least, after this Week 3 game. And I'm not saying they're going to dominate the Chiefs, but it could go both ways. It could be a very tight, close game that could be a 24-21 end score. Or honestly, with how the Chiefs defense has played sometimes, I wouldn't be surprised if the Ravens end up torching them for 35 points.
It's possible.
The Chiefs, we've seen it. The Chargers kind of carved them up a little bit, and the same thing happened in Week 2 as well. If you scheme against them properly so far this season and you have the talent, you can do damage against them. Baltimore has the talent. Now let's see if they could scheme it up, because I think Todd Monken and John Harbaugh, there's a lot of questions about how those two guys handle end-of-game scenarios and handle situations with their guys. So yeah. There's a lot of internal aspects that this team needs to prove, to say the very least.
I agree with that.
I think we did a fantastic job recapping the week, boys. Fantastic. So, from recapping the previous week to our picks for the next week, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to our favorite part of the show. It is the hashtag SAOC Pick Challenge, where the three of us go around the league and answer the questions of what games do we feel like picking here and why. We pick on a 4 to 1 point scale, 4 being the most confident, 1 being the least confident, that we have in a select amount of games. The three of us, are picking from 12 specific games. Well, the overall slate, but we picked 12 games total because 4, just like the 80-76ers did. We're picking our games based off of the concept of who is favored going into it. The idea is that we get to pick minimum one upset pick per selection for each of us. The lowest pick point total number that we can use our upset pick on is our 2-pointer. You could go all upsets if you want for the entire week if you do so choose, or you could go 3 out of 4 favorites. Can't go 4 for 4 on favorites though, because there will be a penalty. What is that penalty? We have no idea. And ultimately, the concept of it's very basic for us. We don't go by the spread. We just we don't go to cover. We just go who is favored into the game. That helps us decide who we're picking as the favorite going in and what our upsets are deemed to be. And of course, we get our lines of who is favored to going into a game by our friends at.
You said it.
Yeah, but he's muted.
I know, but we can all read lips.
ESPN, bet.
Thank you. So with that being said, hey, Britt, come on now. You got to be kind to our listeners that can only hear.
Okay.
Sure. Yeah. You never know. A blind listener could be hearing right now, and they missed Justin saying it the first time.
Oh, that's fair.
If we've had people listen to the show in Baltimore, Maryland, we can have a blind listener.
Boy.
So with that being said, boys, Serpentine draft order, which if we want to pick a tie, by the way, last thing we can, just must be used with the 4-point pick, although I don't know if any one of us want to pick a tie here anytime soon, to say the least. So that being said, Rick, update us on the standings. Let's get the show on the road. Or let's get this part of the show on the road.
So I will tease this. There is a game that the entity that shall not be named did not select a winner and literally looked at me and said, tie. So if none of us pick that game, we will have our first tie pick of the season.
Okay.
Wow.
So,
interesting.
Yeah.
I'm not the Colts of the Texans. It's a bad idea.
That's really very bad idea. Speaking of very bad ideas, apparently picking chalk does nothing for me, as we saw this week. Daniel Jones saved me from having an imperfect week, boys. I got, in the words of Bob Uecker, I got one goddamn point this week. So I am in last place by a considerable margin. I'm at 15. We didn't have a good week. We went from 14-2 the week prior to 7-9 this past week. Didn't have a good week. Everybody else, meaning the two of you and the entity, got 2 out of 4 right. It was me that was bringing up the rear as per usual. So based on what happened, the entity is at 19. We do have a new solo leader by 1 point, thanks to the virtue of winning their 4-point game this past week. Justin, the man without a trophy to his name, has a 23-22 point lead over Jerk. So far, so good.
Doesn't matter about right now. It's got to be later.
Very true.
Well, a lead now, if you build it up enough, it could be a big enough lead. Just ask anybody who let the U.S. Open in round 1 and won the whole thing. So this is where I get into trouble because
there's some tasty chalk in this league.
Oh my God!
So you have the Bills and the Saints, which is a 16.5 spread. You have the Lions over the Browns, which is 8.5 right now. I think those are the 2 biggest. And then you have the Packers over the Cowboys are 6.5, and then Broncos over Bengals is 7.5. So you got there's some mighty big spreads in this one.
It's just taunting me. It's looking at me with that juicy T-bone steak of a 16.5 point favorite. Also, the Texans are 7.5 over Tennessee too.
I was going to say, and the Giants are also the Chargers are 6.5 over the Giants. There's a lot of 6-point spreads this week. I think this is the biggest. This is the most amounts that we've seen. This
is a game where you gotta get creative with your upset picks. This is a week where you gotta get creative with them.
Oh, sure. I only like 2 of these, so I might have to go with my upset pick either at 3 or
early?
4.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why is it? I'm not seeing spreads on my thing.
That's weird.
Weird.
I was going to say, if you need help.
I do have them, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, both Rick and I have them, Justin, so if you need help, we could, give you, a couple, lists if you ask for a game.
Well, you know what? Maybe I'll just pick based on what I think, and you'll let me know if I hit an upset.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, that's fair.
If I have to pick one later, then I'll pick one later.
It's in Buffalo. Come on.
Rick, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't trust the Bills a second week.
Justin wants that pick to.
But it's in Buffalo.
But
it's in Buffalo.
I was gonna say, I think the Bills are lucky because
quarterback.
I think the Bills are lucky because had either of these 2 games been away, I think there would be actual upset potential. But it's in Buffalo.
It's in Buffalo.
Dude, Spencer Rattler's not been good, and if they put in Tyler Shuck, there's a reason Tyler Shuck didn't win the job.
He hasn't been good, but he hasn't been bad either. He hasn't been to the level of Cam Ward. I'll give him the Bills. I'm not letting this game go to Justin because I want him to actually do some research and do some work. So give me Buffalo. Give me Buffalo for this one. It's fine. If they win by 15, fine, because I still picked them to win. It is what it is.
This one is tough for me because I'm not joking when I say there's really only 2 upset picks that I actually like here.
Somehow I don't think that Justin's taking upsets back to back at 4 and 3, although you never know. So
yeah, but he could pick one of the games I want that I'm thinking of an upset, and then I'm screwed with my least favorable.
This is true.
So it's why look, sometimes fortune favors the bold. I'm pretty good with this team, picking this team so far this season.
It doesn't. I said that last week. Look what happened. It doesn't favor the bold.
Okay, it favors my level of bold.
Okay.
Twice in our 3 seasons so far. So I'll try again. Look, I was this close to this team falling a week ago. I think they might fall this time. I don't know if they're going to get lucky 2 weeks in a row. I got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for my 4-point upset pick over the Philadelphia Eagles. I think the Eagles are not this dominant 3-0 starting team. They are I think they're very close to like they could have started the season 1-2. If the Cowboys just had one drive in the second half of the first game, and if the Rams just hold on to a 19-point lead, which they would have done like 9 times out of 10, like the Eagles are literally a touchdown and a field goal away from being 1-2. Like they're not being dominant right now.
Jerk, I will say that you're right. They're not being dominant right now, but look at the strength of schedule for the Bucks, and look at the strength of schedule for the Eagles, and then take into account every single loss. They had a major loss on their roster every week this so far this year, including Mike Evans this past week. They've beaten the Jets, the Texans, and the Falcons.
Yeah,
I don't think they're beating the Eagles here.
Yeah, I believe in Baker.
A healthy Eagles team, but good luck. I don't mind taking that game.
Of course not.
Extend
the lead.
Although I was going to take the Eagles there if they fell to me, so now I have a decision to make because there's a few games I like and there's a few games I don't. Now, do you go with a highly touted team like the Packers coming off a loss to really show Michael Parsons' old team how to do it on Sunday night? You go with something a little more spicy. Do you trust the Rams to beat up on the Colts? 49ers over the Jaguars should be a real win, but it's hard to say with the way these teams have played.
Mac Jones revenge game, anybody?
Well, not if Brock Purdy plays, but anyways.
That's true.
I think I'm going to go with my gut here, and I'm going to take the Chargers over the Giants at 4 points. I think that's probably the safest one. And then I'll go chalk 2 with, I'm sure it's not an upset, the Lions over the Browns at 3 points.
It is not an upset. I can tell you that for sure. So you are locked into an upset of 2.
It sounds like me.
And when we get there, I'll let you know.
Please
what
do.
teams are the upsets? Yeah, that way you have an idea. Jurgen?
There are two very obvious spreads I want to pick here in just a matter of. By the way, the first international game of the season is this week as well.
It is, yes.
Dublin.
The Dublin game.
Dublin.
Do I want my stress to be done early in the weekend, or do I want to extend it to Monday night? Is the question. I mean, I could end up getting both games. I could also
You can find some other reason to be stressed, Dirk.
Yeah.
Oh, my life is a ball of stress. It takes me like 20 minutes to leave my home every day. Give me... Look, if they don't win this week, everyone might have to be fired. Give me the Texans over the Titans at my 3-pointer. Like this has to be the game they win.
Has to be, right? You got to beat Tennessee. You got to. See, this is where I'm running into some problems here because I want to go double upset again, but that hurt me last time.
Rick, look inward and ask yourself, who are you?
But I also kind of want to
I should have that being right upset.
Do something swear jar.
Wait, I didn't even swear.
I don't even know. I don't know what happened there. No. In my head, I was thinking about swear jar.
That's what Rick says is the person.
Exactly. I never wanted to pick them. But the matchup just looks a little too good for me to not do it.
Okay, there's 2 different teams I'm thinking of in my head for you saying that sentence.
I'm going to make it my 2, though. Okay, I'm going to make it my 2. It's fine. I just got to find a 3. I got to find a 3. And... hold on. Let me look at this again. I just want to make sure of this in my head here. They're going there. It's not that big of a game. All right, we're going to go double upset. I will take the 9:30 game in Ireland. I will take Pittsburgh at 3. So I'll take that one over Minnesota because I don't believe that. I think that performance was a fluke by Minnesota.
Right.
I mean, it was really more defensively. I feel like the Steelers are a more well-rounded team than the Bengals are currently.
Yeah.
So I think they'll be fine.
Yeah. Hindsight 2020, I maybe would have made that my 3-point upset pick rather than going for, but it's fine.
Yeah, I mean, you know. Oh boy.
Are you about to pick back-to-back what I think you're about to pick back-to-back?
Hear it.
Justin, do you want to listen to my prediction for what he's going to pick?
Yeah.
I think he wants to go so against the Dolphins. I think he wants to pick the Jets at his 2-point pick.
Do it.
Yo, that's sigh.
I always advocate to pick the Jets.
No, I mean, that's up there. I tell you what. I know it's going to come back to me, so I'll be that guy. I'll lock it in at 1 because I don't think either of you are going to take the Jets or the Dolphins before then.
Definitely not.
So I'll lock that into my 1 right now. No question about it.
Okay.
I'll lock it in right now. Jerk, you're going to take that game?
No.
Then I'll lock it in at 1. So there you go. First time ever. 3, 2, and 1 in one go. We're already locked in. So I'll take the Jets at 1 over the Dolphins. But that wasn't the game I was thinking of, and that wasn't the soul that I was selling. So
wait, remind me. So wait, can I pick my 2 now, or are we still waiting on your 2? Like, what's going on?
No, you're waiting on my 2. But I'm not going to wait for that long. So part of this is also I have a little fun reveal. The entity wasn't very happy with the fact that I was picking the games for them last week. And so they decided to go on Amazon, my least favorite place of all time, and buy a prop to use to pick their games. With the permission that I can use this pick now to show you the game I'm going to pick.
Sure.
So they decided to go and get the NFL team's felt pennant set.
Nice.
To pick their games from. So, gentlemen, in the tradition of how it's done, here's my 2-point triple upset pick. God help me for making this.
Oh my God. Who are they facing this week?
The Patriots.
Man, that game could go either way.
New England is favored by 1.5 in that one, but they did not look good. And even though Carolina's offense is really atrocious, there's a good possibility that their defense can really stand up and make Drake May's life a living hell. So, yeah, I'll do Carolina there. Why not?
All right. Justin, can you remind me? I know you picked the Lions game for one of your picks. And you picked the Chargers?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, he went Chargers 4, Lions 3.
All right, bet. I just want to make sure. Because I had a game in my head, and I was like, wait, did Justin take this already? Because I'm not trying to double up here by accident.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we already said it. This team is going to have the motivation to play hard. They need to prove themselves. This guy might win the game by himself in this one. Give me the Packers over the Cowboys with my 2.
Alrighty.
My upset's listed.
You got it. Give me 1 second here. All right, so you have Arizona as an upset pick over Seattle. That's a 1.5.
Yep.
Atlanta over Washington is a 1.5.
Yep.
You've got Jacksonville over San Fran is 2.5.
Colts over Rams.
Colts over Rams is 3.5.
Yep.
Kansas City is an upset pick over Baltimore, 2.5. Vegas is an upset pick over Chicago. And then Cincinnati is an upset over Denver.
Let's go Jacksonville.
I think that's fair. There's potential. Like
Yeah,
this could be
Niner.
Trevor Lawrence's breakout game for the season.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And then you have your 1, so you can do whatever you wish.
You know what, Jurg? I like the way you were thinking. I want my pain to be done early. I was going to take the Broncos here, but I don't want to wait till Monday night. So let's do the opposite and go with Seattle.
All right. Seattle over Arizona. That's fair.
That's fair. That is more than fair. I've officially psyched Justin out because then I get to take the Broncos game for myself on Monday night. So I will take the Broncos, and I will probably be depressed after my Week 4 pick results.
You never know, dude. You never know for sure.
I will say I did actually look at my picks from this point last season to this season. I am ahead on my current trend from last season after 3 weeks to I'm ahead this season after 3 weeks compared to what I was last season. So.
Well, that's not bad.
I guess I'm making progress.
That's not bad. I'd say that's pretty good. Okay. So, let me just go ahead and write down the selections in the order in which they've made them, which is that at 1, that at 1. Okay.
So Rick, did we end up taking the game that the entity was going to pick for the tie? I feel like we did.
Yes, you did.
Of course.
Which game was it?
I feel like it was Texans.
Jacksonville, San Fran.
Really?
Shit, I showed the entity both pennants. The entity looked at Jacksonville at the Jaguar, looked at the San Francisco, looked at me and said tie, and walked away.
That's what I would do.
That was the last game possible. Yeah. So.
I mean, Sienna's first word was tie. That's an achievement for a dog.
Well, no, she didn't pick that one. She, ironically enough, she actually picked. Believe it or not, thanks to your strategy, the 4 and the 1 are the dog, and the 3 and the 2 are the baby. So, there you go. At 4 points, the 4-point upset special, we have the Chiefs. Over the Ravens at 4. The 3-point secondary upset special is the Raiders over the Bears. The 2-point favorite is Washington over Atlanta. And the 1-point is the Rams over the Colts. So. This actually is a pretty good system. I like this actually.
That's also like a pretty good set of picks right there.
The Chargers one's actually really cool because it is the LA Chargers blue, so nice. It's really cool. Yeah, I like that one. I was hoping it was like a throwback set where I have the San Diego Chargers one because that'd be hilarious, but no. All right, so
we keep accidentally calling them the San Diego Chargers and the Oakland Raiders.
yes, Joe Herbert. Here we go. Yeah, go Chargers, go. All right, so here we go. The picks are as follows. At 4 points for the leader, which is Justin. He goes with those Chargers. The Lions at 3. The Jags in an upset at 2. And the Seahawks at 1. Jurg, who's a point back, has a 4-point upset of Tampa Bay over Philadelphia.
Let's go, Baker.
Oh, boy. 3-point Houston over Tennessee. Yeah. A 2-pointer Green Bay. Because, over Dallas, why not? Then 1-point Denver over Cincy. Behind Jurg is the entity at 19, going upset with Kansas City and Las Vegas. Then Washington and the Rams. And then there's me. Little old me. 8 points back of Justin. Already drowning in the Atlantic Ocean, but let's go with Buffalo at 4. And then a triple upset special for the fans at home. Pittsburgh, Carolina, and the Jets, God help us all, Jets. Yeah.
And ladies and gentlemen, that ends this week's iteration of the Pick Challenge. Upsets galore. Rick with the triple upset, the entity with the double upset, myself with a 4-point upset, which I feel like it's been a while since I pulled out a 4-point upset.
And Justin boring.
Yeah.
When he gets the lead, he's just boring.
Justin's on a warpath. He wants.
I do this every year. I'm not an exciting pick maker. I'm a smart pick maker.
Justin wants this championship more than he is the Nigel Mansell of this pick challenge right now. Like, he's come close so many years, and maybe this is going to be the season he might end up running away with it. Like, we have brought the pick challenge to the end every time, like, for the championship. Like, there's never been a season. Justin, it would be a personal thing for him if he could be the first guy to make sure that doesn't happen.
And also Justin has been in the final too every year. And
the question is not will Justin make the final; it's who will be facing him in the final.
We won't know who it's going to be.
The entity.
Yes. Yes, it's going to be the entity. Yes.
We're going to be outdone by football picks.
Oh, my God. We're going to be outdone by a 5-year-old dog and a 2-year-old baby.
Yes.
There are worse fates in life, I suppose.
There are. Well,
Yeah.
I know a fate that's worse than that. Being selected to be ranted upon. Podfather, take us home with a good old-fashioned Rant and Rick's roast.
All right, so 2 honorable mentions tonight. 1, the Dallas Cowboys, most obviously, and 2, you jerk for the transitions. What the hell is going on here with this stuff? Come on now.
My transitions have been fantastic.
I know they have been. They have been. Yes, the Dallas Cowboys, though, honorable mention because, obviously, it just is what it is.
Everybody's a critic.
Yeah, right. Number 3. Have I discussed Los Angeles' Olympics before on the show? I don't believe I have. Much like everything in life, and much like everything in the world today, LA is ruining something, and that would be the Olympics this time. Because for years upon years upon years, the sanctity and the holier-than-thou nature of the Olympics is that no matter what stadium anything is taking part in, it's just renamed a blanket stadium. It's not given any kind of like corporate, undertones or whatnot. And they do it in the World Cup too. There's no corporate undertones. It's just the name of the city where the stadium is. That's the name of the stadium for World Cup reasons. But Thomas Bach and the LA Olympic organizers in 2028 are opting to eschew all of that by allowing the opening ceremony to take place at the United Airlines Coliseum of Los Angeles or whatever it's called. Like, first of all, the LA Memorial Coliseum is a stadium that should never have a sponsor attached to it. It's one of those stadiums where it's just a legendary spot and it should never have corporate anything to it. Yankee Stadium, Soldier Field, and the LA Coliseum. United Airlines, the worst airline, I think personally. I mean, Spirit's bad, but United is just worse. Has attached their name to it and insisted that they be a part of the Olympic culture. I hate this, and I think that it should be done away with immediately because it's just another example of corporations worming their way into our lives and ruining everything for all the people involved. I mean, you want to replace the logo on Cracker Barrel when Uncle Sherman or whatever his name is didn't do anything wrong. Stop ruining things. Like, leave my childhood alone as it is. Speaking of leave my childhood alone as it is, number 2 would be my good, dear friend, dear friends over at the SEC. Stop ruining college sports with this. We have to have 19 teams in our conference, and they all have to make the college football playoff, and they all have to make the NCAA tournament. Like, it's just like, have your own tournament, crown your own champion, and leave the rest of everything to ourselves. Teams like Toledo and Miami of Ohio and Washington State deserve their chance of their glory in the sun. But no, it's all run through LSU and Auburn. God help us, not Alabama anymore because Caleb DeBoer's still a bum. But, Florida. The only team that has any gripe with this that I actually give them a pass in the SEC is Vanderbilt because it's nice seeing Vanderbilt actually win. But, hey, College Game Day, note for you. Go to Nashville. Go to Vanderbilt for one of your shows. Stop doing Big Ten nonsense or Florida, Georgia. Like, go to Vanderbilt for once. Nashville's great. I'll tell you. McAfee in Nashville would be a lot of fun there. And number 1 for me, this is personal. This is a real personal one. I'm a simple man. When I have a craving for something to eat, it's usually because I've had it before somewhere and I truly enjoy it. Today, I was craving a very simple wrap. A chicken cordon bleu wrap, if you will. Breaded chicken, ham, Swiss cheese, and, honey mustard. That's all I want. Russian dressing if you're fancy, whatever. So why is it that nobody has this goddamn wrap when it's so ubiquitous and your ingredients are right there and it's so easy to make? Like, nobody has it. Or if they have it in really stupid forms. I'll give you the top 3 stupidest forms that I saw when I was door dashing at work today. Number 3, putting it on a panini with no sauce. Like, amateur hour. amateur hour. Number 2, grilled chicken in a cordon bleu wrap. No, it has to be breaded. Blackened and breaded, it has to be. Black and fine, breaded, absolutely. And number 1, the worst thing that I saw, actually, a three-way tie at number 1. I apologize, three-way tie at number 1. 1A, some restaurant had a side of ranch for it. No, that's like eating a salad. No, thank you. Not about that. Speaking of salad, number 2, one of the restaurants said, here, you can have it heated up with lettuce. Like, huh? You want me to have hot lettuce on my cordon bleu? No, thank you. Jacques Pepin is rolling over in his grave. I think he's dead. I don't even know. Julia Child is as well, though. Number 1, the worst one, the 1C, the worst of the worst, is a chicken cordon bleu. Someone said, here, you know what dressing goes well with this? Blue cheese. If you know what I'm about to say, the song that I'm about to sing, because you've seen his content on Instagram, you'll know. Blue cheese has mold in it. No, I don't want that with my chicken cordon bleu. Stick to simple ingredients, put it in a wrap, give it to me, and leave me alone. Very simple. When I want something simple, that's it. And I get what you people are saying in the comments. Oh, but you could have made it yourself with your own ingredients. It's so much work. Too much work. I wake up at 5:30 in the morning to go to work at 7:30 in the morning. You know, I am literally walking the dog for an hour. I don't have time to go get ham and figure out my life. That's your job, not mine. Yours. You find the ingredients. You put it in the wrap. You better not break that wrap, by the way, because if you break that wrap, I'm going to break your face. I'm simple. That's what I want. And also, a little teaser for you for next week, since I believe, going to be doing the all gas, no breaks. My number 4 question is not about football, but it's about something related to what I had today for lunch. that I think is going to stir up a lot of controversy, because we are going to be close to spooky season. So get ready for that.
A pumpkin spice chicken cordon bleu.
Justin, you are a traitor and a scoundrel. How dare you?
So, ladies and gentlemen,
I rescind my Rosh Hashanah greeting to you.
The Food Critics of Chaos podcast debuts next week. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us on this edition of the Sports Agents of Chaos podcast. Plenty of football discussed, Hall of Fame cases made for young quarterbacks, NFL Week 3 reviewed, NFL Week 4 previewed, all that and more. And we're going to go through it next week once we complete the first month worth of games in the NFL season. God, it's going by pretty quickly, boys. But we'll be here every step of the way. Thank you all so much for joining us on this week's edition of the show. More fun, football, and chaos ahead in next week, and many more to come. Thanks so much, and all of you have a wonderful night. And happy Rosh Hashanah for our viewers that observe.